from Marble City. Rebel, you what it said. Yeah. Golden W's What? Came up running routes on a chalked up field. Hoops on a black top, chain nets, cheap meals. West on a jersey, now west in the heart. We were just a little crude and the mission turned hard. Stallion talk strong, he gon' stand on truth. Two-pair tape got the cards for the lost eye youth. Coach Shane, old Mac with the game time plan. Big game, Kerry Reeves, show you how to be a stand-up man. Straight out of the west side, throw them W's up, watch the whole world ride. RWAC, yeah, say it with your chest. It's not just a brand, it's a whole new line. We some rebels with a cause, all about that real talk. Clock hit zero, but the grind don't walk off. RWAC, yeah, carry it for all of us. It's not just a name, it's the way we stand tall. We don't just chill when the crowd get loud. We stay in the city when the lights die down. Show love to the kids on the crack cement. Dropping knowledge in the huddle like it's heaven sent. Talk grades, talk faith, talk how to treat moms. Talk pain, talk pressure, how to keep calm. From the bleachers to the barbershop, past that flame. Every jersey, every nickname, learn the same last name.
You know, every time I hear it, thank you, Playboy Pete, for them vocals and doing that song for us. I get chills, and it's always fascinating to be with you guys. What's up, everybody? It's your boy. You know who it is, the Italian Stallion, here for another episode of Rebels with a Cause. A lot more fresher this week after I've gotten my beauty rest after all that traveling I've been doing. Coming up on being 42 years old, I still need my naps and everything of that nature. It's a young man's game, but still got to bring that Miami Heat. And anyway, welcome to the show. Obviously, Rebels with a Cause. And remember, it's 9:30 Wednesday night. And you got to throw that W up always, because that cause don't stop when that clock hits zero. Got a fabulous show for you tonight. I don't know who's going to be on. Our dear coach, Shane O'Mac, he has been busy working these doubles, trying to get that money and trying to recoup all that he was struggling there. And he's just kicking ass and taking names like a true rebel with a cause. And our boy, Two-Pair Tate, the hardest working man. If he ain't calling a ball game, he's doing something in different cities with National Coalition. I mean, he's just doing so much major stuff. And, obviously we knew that we would be busy as we've evolved in our lives, and we're all in such a great place. But want to give a shout out to our main guy, Big Game Kerry Reeves, for holding it down for us while we've been doing our thing, and he's been growing his brand. And if you haven't watched his show, please catch it Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock, the KR Big Game Show. And always brings so much knowledge, and it's a fun show. And, definitely check it out if you haven't already, and become a subscriber. And as I mentioned before, real quick, for those that are subscribed, 194 subscribers, over 20,000 views. If people want to get me a birthday present, let's get to 200 subscribers. That'd be the best birthday present right there, to do that in less than a year when we were trying to get to 100 in August. But we just love the support. Over 20,000 views. Keep punching that like button. Share our cause so we can get others to join it. Also, the views and opinions of this program are not affiliated with those of any other organizations or any entities. These are solely the RWAC families and guest panelists' views. Also, please, if you haven't already, just join the mini chat box live. We'll try to get to your questions so we can talk about what you want to talk about, because this show is as much about you. But tonight we are focusing on the madness, baby. It is March. Madness is here. And last but not least, we want to also make sure that you smash that like button and share us. It gets the algorithms going, and we always appreciate that love and everything that you all bring to the show. That being said, I do want to bring on my co-host. He brought the heat last night. I know he's revving up to bring it up again tonight. So without further ado, let's bring him on. A day one supporter, has got his own show on the channel. Things can happen when you are part of the family, and I'm proud to not only call him a great friend, but a brother from another mother. Let's bring him on with the love and support that he always deserves, and respect. The one, the only, Big Game Kerry Reeves in the house, baby. What you up to?
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday night. It is always ready for Wednesday night when we're on together, man. We're ready to have some fun. Let's talk the madness. We are in the madness. It's hard to believe we are already in March. The
Can you
madness is,
think about this, big game carries? 2 weeks from right now, they'll be finishing up, if not tipping off, the final first four game,
yep,
and then 2 weeks from tomorrow at noon, the madness officially begins. I mean, where does the time go, brother? I mean, it seems like we were just finishing up football, and February is already a short month. You know what I
yep.
mean? With everything packed in there. And my goodness, here we are in March. The last regular season games are being played out. Conference tournaments are already started from the women's side, even the smaller
Mm-hmm.
conferences for the men's side. And, Selection Sunday is basically 11 days away at this
Yep.
point. And
11 days.
so it's just crazy to think about, you know what I mean? But before we get into it, I do want to give a couple of shout outs and obviously mourn a loss. The football world lost a big one today. But before we do that, I want to do it on a happy note. Let's give a happy birthday to Larry Frank Jr. He
Happy
turns
birthday, big
24
boy.
years old tonight. He turned 24 today. So still looking
24,
great.
yeah.
Got that blue leisure suit. If anybody says that the Italian Stallion rocks a suit, man, they hadn't seen the final boss, Mr. Larry Frank Jr., in that blue leisure suit,
He can
man.
kill
I'm
the
telling
suit,
you,
man. He can
he
kill
can
it.
kill it, man. Woo! He's sharp, sharp. That's the final
Yeah.
boss right there. But my
Happy
man, I hope
birthday,
you
Big
have had
Larry.
a fabulous day, and to many, many more, my brother. And I hope that you and the family and your beautiful wife are celebrating it and doing it big, baby. Honestly,
That's right,
so
man.
can't wait to obviously get together again and talk all sports when you're available. And you're always welcome to come on the show, brother,
That's
as a
right,
guest
man.
panelist. That being said, on a sadder note, college football world lost a legend in Lou Holtz. Obviously, I'm no Notre Dame fan by no means, but the work that this man did at every place he coached at was absolutely second to none. They won. He made South Carolina a winner right before Steve Spurrier elevated it even further. But he always was a dynamic speaker. I got to have the privilege of seeing him along with Zell Miller and a couple of other guys, Pat Summitt and Bruce Pearl, when they came to Knoxville years ago for a company I was working for, and his speech was amazing. And he actually said, Kerry, that nobody thought that a guy that was 145 pounds soaking wet with a lisp would ever become a Hall of Fame football coach. And he said that,
Mm-hmm.
and it just gave me chills to think about. You know what I mean? And I knew that he was not doing well. They had put him in hospice in January. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing he actually lasted this long. But
Yep.
truth be told, would we expect anything less from an underdog like a Lou Holtz and so forth, who always said, "No, we don't have a chance. We don't have a chance," and would always get you, when you least expected it. But your thoughts on this legend we lost today, 89 years old. So
Fantastic coach. Not just what he did at South Carolina, making them relevant in his final act of coaching before Steve Spurrier, what he did at Arkansas, what he did at Notre Dame, winning their last national championship. They haven't won one since at Notre Dame in
correct.
1988. Arkansas is what he did there. The bowl games he played in. They brought one up 1978, the Orange Bowl, that he suspended 7 starters before they played Oklahoma, and they still won the game 31-6 over national number 1 Oklahoma, and they lost the national championship. The Alabama and USC ended up splitting that title because Lou Holtz, with 7 suspended starters, goes to the Orange Bowl and manhandles Oklahoma. No one
Yep.
ever manhandled Oklahoma in the 70s, but he did. What a career. And then television. He made him, Mark May, and Reese Davis, what they did for college football final, they made college football final relevant to where people would stay up past that late game
Me.
just to stay up, and I would too. I stayed
Yep.
up to watch Lou Holtz and Mark May, especially when they had their segment, Dr. Lou. They had their courtroom segment.
Oh,
And
the courtroom segment was
was
legendary.
legend. And listening to Reese Davis talk about him today was just absolutely amazing. And the coaching world lost, the sports world lost a very good man, lost a real good man.
And again, I know that I get nostalgic sometime in my feelings on this show. And again, when you can create your own show, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Exactly.
But we always go down memory lane with these things. And I watch college football final not at night, but I always catch it Sunday mornings just to see
Yep.
what maybe I missed or I fell asleep or just want to see the highlights and what they're talking about. And excuse me, kind of get a pulse on what's going on with college football. But, no disrespect to the guys that they have on there, but they don't have as goofy as Reese and Mark and Lou could be or whatever. It worked for them. And they, of course, got to develop their own stick. You can't recycle the same thing. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like somebody own it, make us watch it again,
Yep.
maybe elevate yourself and not just stick to the script. And the thing is maybe that's what they're having to do now since Disney and they answer to shareholders, but at the same time it was never disrespectful, it was always clean fun.
No,
I
always
always
clean
used to
fun.
laugh how they made fun of the ACC and the Wheel of Destiny, like of how
Yep.
like thought one team was going and then this team loses inexplicably to this team, and
Mhm.
it was just entertaining. And like you said, he brought a lot with the Dr. Lou segment. And again, uh, the thing is, I hated him when he was at Notre Dame, hated him when he was at South Carolina, obviously when I was a student at
Oh yeah,
Tennessee,
of
and being
course.
a Miami fan. But at the same time, even rivals can show respect, in
Mhm.
a time like this and so forth,
And
and
he earned it, man. He
he did
absolutely
earn
earned
it.
it.
And we're losing them more and more. That old guard, I mean,
Yep.
Jimmy Johnson's getting up there in age, I mean, like that old guard, that Barry Switzer's still around, but they're getting up there, and more we're going to start losing that next group, you know
The
what I
late
mean, type of a
60s, the
thing. So
70s, and the 80s had some of the greatest iconic coaches in the history of sports, not just
they did.
college football. And we're starting to lose them like it seemed like once every a year or a couple of years, we're losing them, man. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's sad state. I grew up during that era. I love that era. Not to say that I don't
Absolutely.
love the era now, but that era was just special. There's just something about that era that was just so special. The coaches were special. The players were special. And we're just
Yes.
losing people left and right. And it's really sad.
It really is. It really is. And the basketball coaches too that we've lost
Yep.
the last few years, and I think that when you start losing the what would like the Bayheims and the Shashevskys,
Yep.
that's really going to hit home. You know what I mean, type of thing, and so forth.
Mhm.
I mean, Father Time gets us all. It's just about what
Yep.
we do between that asterisk. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That you have a date of birth, you have a date of death, and what you do between the asterisk is what matters the most, and so forth.
Exactly.
But that being said, let's get into some college basketball, man. You touched on it last night, and I also want to give you the floor again tonight to this audience. Obviously, we talked about how these teams looked over the weekend, and since then, we've even had a couple of more teams play. On Monday
Mhm.
night, Duke went into Raleigh and just absolutely put belts to asses to NC State. I mean, I'll give credit to Will Wade. He made it interesting for about 9 minutes going to a zone,
Mhm.
and then Shire figures it out, and then they outscored NC State like 45 to something over the next. I mean, it was just insane if you really watch it. It was methodical how Duke took them apart. Then you look at Florida, just started off a little slow against Mississippi State, then cruised to a victory. Arizona gets Koa Pete back, and
Yeah.
Brayton Berries, and to go along with their studs, and they avenge that game against Iowa State. At no point was Arizona even threatened. Iowa
Exactly.
State's a very good team, solid team.
Mhm.
And Arizona just methodically took them apart. And then Michigan obviously hasn't played since all the games they played in that short week, but they've got to rebound because Thursday they've got Iowa on the road, and then they finish at home on Senior Day Sunday against Sparty, which will be the last regular season game of the men's on Sunday before the
Mhm.
conference tournaments are all firmly beginning. You know what I mean, type of a thing. So the last we saw Michigan, they stomped Illinois. Unfortunately, they did lose their backup point guard, who was a very big part of the rotation, in
Yep.
LJ Kaysen. So they're going to have to figure that out, and that's going to be interesting of how they do on the road against an Iowa team that's trying to get into the tournament themselves. But with these teams looking like the four, Some have argued Connecticut, and the chat box can chime in of who you think is that fourth number one. A lot of people have said head to head is the argument, and that's fine. But here's the thing. I really feel if Connecticut and Florida played now, I think Florida is the one that wins by
Yeah,
maybe 10 points, to be
I
honest
agree.
with you. So, and some could argue that you would love to see a rematch between Florida and Duke that was a 1 point game, and both those
Mhm.
teams are completely different from when they played in Cameron way back in early November. So, or late November rather. So, what's your thoughts? Are these the four teams that are going to get those number one seeds? In chat room, you can chime in of your thoughts of who you think is going to be the four number ones come Selection Sunday when the bracket's revealed.
You're asking me who's the hottest team, the hottest four teams. I mean, Duke, Florida, Arizona, Michigan. What Florida has done in the SEC. That the rest of them have beat each other up, and they've only been stumped up twice. They've been in Florida has just been a machine. You know how they did it last year. They were an outside team last year. This year, they're an inside team. That's going to cause, they're big on the inside, and that's going to cause a lot of problems for the NCAA tournament. That game, their non-conference schedule, Florida, yes, they lost to UConn in the non-conference. They lost to Duke in the non-conference, but this team is completely different from now from November. If you were to play Florida now, I think Florida and Duke right now to me might be the best two teams in the country.
I agree. I mean, and I don't want to discredit what Michigan's done or
Oh no.
Arizona, but right now, if you're talking about, you were saying Michigan and Arizona all year long at that level, the wins, the margins, and everything like that. But Florida and Duke have evolved. And the thing is,
Yes.
if Duke is going to start getting outside shooting from their Italian stallion and Dame Sarr, and
Oh
they're going
man.
to, and Kayla and Isaiah Evans, who they like to call Slim Reaper over there, is going to be making threes on the outside, along with what you're going to get in the inside from Boozer, Gangba, and that group.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at that. And then you look at Florida. We were making fun of the fact that they didn't have the outside shooting that they had last year. And then this Isaiah Brown kid couldn't freaking miss
You
against
got that
Arkansas
right.
on Saturday.
Oh my
And
God.
Boogie Fland, it can make him occasionally. And then Lee, who the transfer from the Ivy League, is finally catching fire, and the game
Mm-hmm.
is slowed down for him, which you kind of knew he was a talented player, but it's a different level from the Ivy League to what they were playing. But their
Yep.
non-conference prepared them for the grind of the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, man. I mean, they are looking like a clear favorite. And again, you can't discredit Connecticut, but Connecticut has just not looked good. They should have lost to Seton Hall on
Yeah.
Saturday, and that was supposed to be senior day. I mean, there's something wrong with Connecticut, that they're a good team, and I don't want to discredit what is, but when you're looking at, I'm watching teams, Carrie, and there are teams that are contenders, and there are teams that are, they're nice. They're nice ball clubs, but they're not going to be the team that has magic that can win six to cut down the nets. But
Yeah.
what else? Well, I mean, am I wrong with what I'm saying right there? Because these teams look different.
No,
They're
these teams
built
just
different. They're coached different. They look different. Go ahead. So
they just
yeah.
look different and feel different and coach different from that non-conference schedule. Big difference, like you said, between the end of November and right now, and right now, because man, two completely different teams. You got a rotation going. And I mean, Florida, it's not like Florida has had easy games. When they've gone on the road, everybody has given them their best. Everybody has given them their best shot. They're just this much better, it seems like, than everybody else. They go to Kentucky Saturday, and people say that they should rest their starters. No, they're playing for a number one seed. They're going to Kentucky to sweep Kentucky, beat them, set themselves up for SEC tournament, where really they don't have to win the SEC tournament. I think if they just get to Saturday, they're good.
Oh
And
yeah.
let the committee figure out who's going to be the fourth number one.
I do want to touch on something you mentioned about the committee, and I don't want to lose my train of thought. Anthony, thanks for always supporting the show and hitting that like button and so forth. He says, honestly, for some odd reason, I don't trust Florida. I don't know what it is, but I just don't trust them for some reason. Can you guys understand where I'm coming from? I get where you're coming from. Maybe the SEC is not as strong as last year, but the thing is when I watch Florida, they have gotten better. And the thing is the 3-point shooting was an issue at the beginning of the year, but it is coming on. And it's not so much Boogie Flan, but it's this foreign kid whose name escapes me that comes off the bench at the shooting guard position, and then Isaiah Brown, a super soft, who's really knocking down threes. And when you have 7 guys go in double figures like they did the other night, I mean, they were just unstoppable, Kerry. But I want to touch on what you mentioned about the committee. I have heard in the past that realistically, the committee does utilize a little bit of the conference tournament, but they don't place all the eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
What they do is they use that to adjust if there's an upset, or maybe one of these bubble teams get their bubble popped, so to speak, because somebody shouldn't have won a tournament that shouldn't have. But for the most part, I really think that if Duke takes care of business and avenges the loss to North Carolina, Arizona could actually play their backups and still beat Colorado Saturday night.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Michigan takes care of Michigan State in their rivalry game. And as you mentioned, Florida takes care of Kentucky on the road. I think that it's a shoo-in that these are the 4 that get the number 1 seeds, provided Connecticut doesn't slip up. If Connecticut slips up, then I guess you do have to take the head-to-head. But here's the thing. You know that the committee's going to put Connecticut number 1 and Florida number 2 and let
in the
them
same
meet
region.
in the same region and let them play each other again. You know, I mean, Duke are right now, according to Lenardi, they might have to play Kansas, who is right now in disarray. But a lot of people said, oh, well, Duke beat Kansas without Darren Peterson. Well, Darren Peterson, that whole situation is a mess right now. But the thing is Kansas is projected to be a number 4 seed in Duke's region. So what I'm getting at is that you might see rematches again in the brackets, just because a lot of these teams beefed up, and very rightly so. But they're going to have to play each other eventually if the brackets shake out. But I think that if these teams take care of business this weekend, and why wouldn't you think that they wouldn't? Obviously, 3 of the 4 teams have rivalry games, but and Arizona's got a snoozer, and they can't help that because, look, they've taken care of business everywhere else and navigated it with the injuries they've faced. And Tommy Lloyd's done a bang-up job. But I guess what I'm getting at is if these 3 teams, Florida, Duke, and Michigan, beat their rivals, I think you got your 4 number 1s. And at this point, it's where the chips fall in place of who you get on the 2 and 3 line. So what's your thoughts, brother? So
I think you're right about the committee. Most of the time, what they do, most of your field is set in stone by like Saturday. They're looking at They're basically, committee now looks at upsets. They're looking at upsets through the week. They're seeing what's going on in the conference tournament. They see what's going on in these conference tournaments. They see where the bubble teams could use a win, use a couple. Some teams like Texas A&M helped themselves out this week. Beating Kentucky, they really helped themselves. Texas beat them last week, helped themselves out a little bit. Teams are starting to help themselves out a little bit before it gets to the conference schedule, to where conference tournament, you could win 1 or 2. You're sitting in right now. Texas is sitting in a position where they're going to play not the first night, but the second night. They get themselves a win. Okay, they get themselves in a better position. And then some of these other teams, you got other tournaments like the Atlantic 10, Ohio Valley. You've got Miami of Ohio. Can they win they've won their regular season. Can they win their conference tournament? Do they have to win their postseason tournament? If you're listening to Bruce Pearl, he goes, yeah, they're going to have to win their conference tournament. If you don't listen to Bruce Pearl, like most other people are, say, no, they don't have to win their conference tournament. They've proven that they're one of the 38 at-large teams in the country.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. We'll get to the Bruce Pearl thing. I want to answer Anthony's question. Anthony, I will be in Charlotte next week because of Miami, and tonight they locked up a double bye. So, and again, I'm going to take credit where credit's due. Last year at this time, I made a prediction on this show, and I said, mark my words, the hire of Jay Lucas, because it was announced this time last year, and that his last game was going to be with Duke before he had to go because of the NIL and everything like that. I said, mark my words, Miami is going to be a tournament team. Now, to answer your question, I think that Miami and Duke could be a very intriguing matchup if they have to take care of business. Right now, Duke is the number 1 seed. Miami just locked up the number 3 seed. And if they take care of business, hypothetically, they could meet Saturday night in the championship game. That's what I'm ultimately hoping for. If Duke somehow gets blown out by Miami, I don't think that would happen. I think that Miami would win close, only because Jay Lucas knows Duke stuff, and I'm sure that John Shire knows Miami stuff of what Jay runs. But the truth of the matter is, I just think Duke is deeper, Duke is bigger, and it's going to be depending on how that game is called. But to answer your question hypothetically, if Miami wins the ACC tournament championship, they would probably jump up to a 6 seed. That's probably the highest they could go. If they finish second place in the tournament, they'll be a 7. Right now, they're projected as an 8 or a 9. And again, is the committee really going to make that big of a deal about winning the ACC and beating your overall number 1? Perhaps, but I think the highest they could get is a 6 seed if they happen to beat Duke and win the ACC championship. So I just wanted to answer your question there.
To my point, would be a 6 seed would be pretty good. You avoid the number 1 seed. Anytime you could avoid the number 1 seed in your region, I say even number seed like 6. That's a good number to get.
I think 6 isn't a bad number because truth be told, I mean, a 3 seed is good, but 3 seeds have been susceptible to losing to 6s in the past. And then the other thing too is that maybe a 2 seed like a St. John's gets knocked off by a 7, and you're playing somebody that was really just in your range, and somehow you can sneak into an Elite 8. And you never know. I mean, that's why it's called the madness. But in this era now, where you don't have many great big-time players on these small teams because they've now moved on with NIL money to make the bigger programs even better. I could see all 16 seeds, meaning the 4 in each region, moving on. And really, showing another tournament where, you might have an upset here and there with anybody from 5 through 12, if you want to call it an upset. But truth be told, I just think that these 1 through 4 seeds are going to be heads and above better than some of the teams that they play, provided they don't have any injuries or foul trouble or things. It's weird shit that can happen. It's all about the matchups. But your thoughts on that big game. So, yeah.
Tell you what, man. Yeah, look, where would Miami be seated? What region would they be in right now?
Right now, they're projected to go out west. They're projected to go out west to play Arizona in the second round, provided they beat an 8 seed. And I think that'd be a good matchup, honestly.
I honestly think that's not a bad spot to be, because Tennessee right now would be in the east or the south, and I think that's a good side for Tennessee to be on, to be in Duke's region or to be in Florida's region. I think that's a good way either way. But these matchups, you're right. These top 16 teams, they're really good, but there's always, to me in the tournament, I watch for the 5s and 6s, because 5 and 6s could easily be 4s and 3s or 2s with a couple of breaks going away. Couple teams out there that really get me going. Tennessee is one that is in a position to get things going. Arkansas. I look at 3 teams out of the SEC. I look at Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas. You got those guys seated anywhere from 4 to 6 in a region. They could bite you in the butt. They could literally bite you in the butt. If you're not, if you're not careful, they could bite you in the butt with their style of play. Could bite you in the butt. That's what I look at. I look at the 4th, 5, 6, and 7s, because those teams were just a smidge away from being one of those higher top 16 seeds.
Oh, without a doubt. This is going to be
a fun tournament. It's
going to be an amazing tournament. And Anthony asked me right now, and actually, here's the thing. It's changed again. So realistically, listen to this one. So now, because of Miami, this was even before winning tonight, Lenardi had actually moved them out of the West region, put them in the South region as the 8th seed, playing Georgia in the first round, and then playing UConn in the second round in Philadelphia. And there's a lot of Miami alumni that live up in the Northeast. And that might be an interesting matchup with UConn and Miami. Now, if they kept them as a 6 seed and put them in the and left them in the South, theoretically Miami would actually go to Greenville, South Carolina as the 6th seed and play Texas A&M, who would be the 11th seed, and the 3 seed that they would match up with is Purdue, who's dropped from the 2 line to the 3 line, provided Purdue would get by Troy if Miami got put as the 6th seed in the East region or what have you. So that would be a possibility right there. And then they would actually match up later on in Houston with a potential rematch with Florida, who they lost at the beginning of the year to. And so you could have a Miami-Florida matchup down the road if it worked out that way, type of a thing. So speaking of Tennessee, though, I mean, I do want to talk about that, though, Kerry, because you do have a point with Tennessee men's basketball right now. They could be a dangerous 5 seed. We don't know the status of Ament. I've heard that they're trying to hold them out till the SEC tournament. That's what makes Saturday even bigger, to not only hold, serve, and win against Vanderbilt, but if you look at it, Tennessee has so much on the line. It's not only senior day, but you secure that double bye, and that gives you an extra day of rest to get Ament back for that grind of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So
they could get
what's
that
your
double
thoughts?
bye even if they don't beat Vanderbilt, because Florida goes to Kentucky, Arkansas goes to Missouri. If either one of those, if Kentucky or Missouri, either one of those teams loses and Tennessee still loses, Tennessee gets the 4th spot in the double bye, and they're in the Florida bracket. Now, if Tennessee could somehow pull off an upset, Tennessee could move up as far as 3.
That's awesome. Like Miami, you avoid like Duke, or you avoid Florida.
You avoid Florida, and that would put you right back with Alabama. And that would actually be a better matchup for Tennessee. And Tennessee could get to the final. And I could see. I'm hearing about it, he might play Saturday. There is a chance he might play Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. I mean, the thing is he doesn't have a lot of girth on his legs. He's skinny, and so it looked bad. But it could have been way worse. It could have been way worse. And when you don't have good wheels in this game, and that could be an ankle, a knee, a hamstring, a foot, you're fucked. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just how it boils down to. And so I think they were right to hold him out. It sucks that they blew the lead because they had him. I mean, they led the whole damn game except for 29 seconds. And that is just, it sucks. I've seen that for so many teams that have been ahead all game long. I mean, theoretically, Duke was ahead of Houston most of that game last year, but Houston did what they needed to win to get to the championship game. It doesn't matter how you the sexy style of points. It matters you got 1 point better than the other team, and there's zeros on the across the clock. So I mean, but I mean, your thoughts on this Tennessee team, man? Because I'm going to tell you this: I think that this Tennessee team may not have the flash and dash that we've been accustomed to the last couple years, but they've taken care of business of what they've had to. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think this has been one of Rick's best coaching jobs, to be honest with you, to navigate the talent. Maybe they didn't get a couple of pieces they were hoping to get here, but with what they've had to work with, and, coming off of the year that was last year and then the Dalton Connect year the year before, it was going to be down. But here's the thing. You're in the tournament and you're in a position to maybe be a dangerous team if you get that 5 seed, Kerry. I mean, is there anything off with what I said of this team? I mean, yes, they've blown leads, but they are still acclimating. And again, a lot of pieces, they've had to battle injuries. And when you don't have that consistency, it messes up the flow of things. But they've navigated it as best I think any team can, honestly.
I think they've navigated it very well. Yes, they're 21-9, and it could be 25-5. It could easily be that record. But 21-9 is still a terrific coaching job. And 2 things that Barnes, I think, can hang on his hat is the fact that they're number 1 in the country in offensive rebounding.
Yes.
They're number 1 in offensive rebounding. They're number 2 in total rebounding in the country with that front line. That front line, come the NCAA tournament, is going to give a lot of teams problems. Matchups are going to be huge. If teams that they match up against don't have that front line, it's going to be a long day. Brown's gotten better. Akpar has gotten better. JP Estrella has now got himself back into his groove. He looked absolutely phenomenal the other night. He looked absolutely great. I know it was South Carolina, but I wanted to see what they would look like without a man, and they looked really well. Jacob Gillespie, and I thought he would go off scoring a little bit. No, he was passing the ball. He was actually passing the ball. They were so much more effective when they were passing the ball, and the contributions that they got from Evans and Boswell. Carey. If Carey can make shots underneath when he gets those rebounds, they'd have won a few more games.
That's what's so frustrating about it. Like, honestly, Carey, I've never seen a player get progressively worse at each of the places that he's gone to. I thought that players are supposed to get better. And I'm not trying to troll. Because the thing was, this guy was one of James Madison's best players a couple of years ago, and then, he was a very solid player for Vanderbilt last year, gave us fits. But the problem is he was a very emotional player. And would cost them opportune times, with a technical or some stupid flagrant crap or whatever like that. And the thing is with this, we haven't seen that. And that's what Rick's done. Rick has gotten him. But at the same time, if he could just somehow, release that emotion, but finish around the basket, that makes Tennessee an even more dangerous team. And again, as I mentioned before, at the beginning of the year, when I saw Tennessee and Duke throw down, I knew what Boozer was going to bring to the table. I knew what Gongba was going to bring to the table for Duke. Yeah. But for Tennessee, I was like, Tennessee held their own. And so they're going to be good this year. But you saw Tennessee healthy then, and they have had to navigate, unfortunately, these injuries and the shit that happens in a long marathon of a season. But I don't think anybody needs to count this Tennessee team out. And certainly in the tournament, Rick is never really, I'll tell you this. We're going to talk about Bruce Pearl in a second because his comments, I went off on him the other night, and don't give me any excuse to go off on that dick. But anyway, I'll be honest with you. For as many times as Bruce Pearl may have had these super Tennessee teams and everybody loved him, how many times did we choke or really not do what we were supposed to do after having such great seasons? Everybody figured his shit out in the tournament. And even at Auburn, really, he lost. And so you look at Rick Barnes. For as much criticism as Rick has gotten over the past, Rick did get to one Final Four with Texas and TJ Ford. And he had some phenomenal players come through his program at Texas, and look what he's done at Tennessee. We are consistently in the tournament. We're consistently a contender. And he's gotten us to more Elite Eights than Bruce Pearl ever fucking did. So, I don't know what the love affair was back then, is all I'm getting at. And it's not me just hating. It's me just telling facts right now. And so when you hear a buffoon talk about, if Miami of Ohio was in the SEC, and it just so happens you're championing for the team that your son coaches, that you literally put in that position and everything, it's not a good look, Bruce. It really isn't. Not that you've ever cared or whatever. You've always put yourself in situations that were not the most appealing. But truth be told, how dare you talk about that team? Because I don't care what conference you're in. I mean, if you go undefeated and you maybe have a slip up in this conference tournament, they are ranked. And as BT said last week, I think anybody in the top 25 should automatically be into the NCAA tournament. I mean, especially if you've navigated the record that they've had and the pressure to go through that. I mean, I salute you. They may not do shit in the NCAA, and they've even said they've tried to schedule some teams who are flat out avoiding playing them. And that sucks, man. That sucks. Not that they owe anybody an explanation, but fuck you, Bruce Pearl, for saying that. I mean, come on, man. I mean, your thoughts on that? I'm going to catch the chat box up while you talk.
I mean, Bruce. Bruce, I just listened to those comments and I'm like, really, man?
Chris Kane, really? What's up?
Chris. I'm like, really? That's the comment you're going to make, and you're going to if he would have talked about any other team other than his own Auburn team, he might have had a little bit of validity. But the fact that he roped his own former team into a discussion where they're 15-15, and right now they're not looking great for the NCAA tournament. Lenardi has them as one of the first four out.
I don't even think they should be in, to be honest with you, Kerry.
I don't even think they should be in that conversation. To me, the only way they get in the NCAA tournament, they got to win the SEC tournament.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this. I'm going to be honest with you. You're not going to hear much from Bruce this week. And I'm going to tell you why. Because of this other scandal going on with the situation with the kid that used to be at Auburn, that's at USC,
Yeah.
that was really 31 with 4 fucking kids and
Yep.
pretending he changed his birth certificate. I mean, what is this? I mean,
I know.
seriously.
What
So
kind of
you're not
mess
going to
is
hear
this?
much. You're not going to hear much from Bruce, but I wouldn't put it past old Bruce. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just a joke. It really is a joke at this point that they had to falsify papers for this guy, and now he's
For this
quietly
kid.
gone into the night, and
Yep.
you will never hear from this guy ever again, honestly.
And we
So,
talk
yeah.
about, and you talked about Tennessee, what job that Barnes has done. Hey, last 2 years, Duke, Houston, Tennessee. Last 2 years, Houston, Tennessee. Only 2 teams that have been in 2 straight Elite Eights.
Yes. Yeah.
Tennessee's a threat to get back there again with this team. A lot of people think this team is not capable of that, but Rick Barnes has pulled rabbits before and has done amazing coaching jobs. This would not surprise if they're a second weekend team. If Tennessee is a second weekend team, they have as good a chance as any to get to that first Final Four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you meant Duke, right? Because Duke beat Houston to get to that Elite Eight, and then lost to that NC State Wolfpack team that was just phenomenal. That put lightning in a bottle. I mean, Kevin Keats got an extra, and you know that was the funny thing when I was watching that Duke NC State game the other night. They actually highlighted the banner. It's right next to the '83 championship, the infamous when Valvano. You know, and I was just thinking to myself, I was like,
one of my favorite teams of all time.
It feels like for forever ago, you know, that happened, but it was only 2 years ago, and a lot of those guys are playing overseas, and a couple are playing in the NBA. But I mean, that was a very talented team. And like I said, they gave Duke fits that year. They gave a lot of teams fits that year. They just ran into the Purdue thing, and nobody was beating UConn that year. But they were a nice story for the Wolfpack. They were a great story. But like you mentioned, Duke and Tennessee, you know, are the 2 teams that have gotten to the Elite Eight. It's looking like Duke will get to a 3rd straight, and why not Tennessee getting back to a 3rd straight if the matchups line up correctly?
All right, if the matchups fall right. Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's
which
exactly
they could
right.
easily do. Which in this tournament they could easily fall right.
Exactly correct. You know, so we talked about that. What I did want to go next into is some of these other teams. You know, we've mentioned the Dukes, the Arizonas, the Tennessees, the Michigan, and obviously Florida. We've mentioned Connecticut some, but is there anybody else that we're missing? I mean, I know we were talking about Illinois, and we were even maybe talking Sparty a little bit. We mentioned Texas Tech. Unfortunately, poor JT Toppin with the torn ACL. But I guess my question is there anybody that we've not talked about that could do that? I mean, I know Houston kind of had a little 3-game skid, but I think they're still a dangerous squad. And you can't discredit Iowa State. I mean, they're just in a very tough conference, and they could be a fit for Michigan, especially if they're the 2 seed in that region and they're meeting up in Chicago in the Elite Eight, you know, because there's a lot of Iowa State alum that live in Chicago. So that could be a really good matchup. But for the most part, Michigan would be a home team. But I guess what I'm getting at is, who else are you kind of looking at the moment that could be a contender in March that nobody's really talking about that might be able to steal one if the brackets open up, so to speak?
I look at 4 teams to me that could, if things were to surprisingly open up, I look at 4 teams, but the matchups have to fall right. Michigan State is one. I think if the matchups fall right, they got great point guard Jeremy Fears, gets everybody involved, and they shoot the ball really well. Their defense bothers me. Defense bothers me because there are times they look really good on the defensive end, and then there are times where they don't know what they're doing on the defensive end. Another team, Texas Tech, is another one. I've liked the way they've responded since Toppin's injury. They've gone out and have played. They beat a terrific Iowa State team at home where nobody beat them all year except for them and Arizona. That's it. They looked really, really good. Gonzaga, I think the matchups have to fall right. They're too inconsistent. Their shooting has been way too inconsistent. And then there's that, I call this team a Danny Manning type team, a guy with one player that could carry an entire team. I look at BYU. BYU would be a scary matchup for anybody with 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 that
Devonta, yeah. Yeah.
That kid is a 40-point game every night waiting to happen.
He's kind of built like Danny Manning too. You know, he's obviously more athletic, but he's skinny, and if he gets hot, he gets hot. And what sucks is that team could have been better had that guy not gotten hurt. The other kid tore his ACL, so it just sucks. You got what you got, but
and then some other pretenders on the outside. I think Alabama has got the offense to play with anybody. Their defense bothers me. Yeah. Arkansas has got the speed and has got the ability to match anybody. They just got their rebounding bothers me. So many good
I'll throw Carolina. I'll throw Carolina in there with Caleb Wilson. But let me tell you this: if Vasir and Caleb Wilson are not available, they are not a good team. And listen, the kid last night, Bogovich, whatever his name is, that hit those 3-pointers. If he does that in Cameron Indoor Stadium on Saturday, you've got my respect. But I just do not. I mean, Clemson. Let me tell you this, man. There's certain teams that I watch, and I looked at Clemson. I'm not trying to be an asshole when I say this, but man, they were slow-footed defense. Everybody talks about this Clemson defense. I'm like, what? I mean, and then their game plan was to throw it to the white guy with the headband and him chuck threes. He didn't make any in the first half, makes a couple in the second half, and it's like there's no coaching there. Like there's nothing, and I mean, I don't know. I looked at that game and I was just like, man, there's a reason why Duke is a heads and above better than any team in this conference. I mean, this is why Miami was able to jump from last place to third place with the brilliance of Jay Lucas taking transfers. But I mean, am I wrong with saying that?
No,
like, I mean,
you're not wrong saying
bad.
that.
I mean, they're terrible.
You're not wrong in saying that because there's another team that fits me in the slow category. Virginia, when they played Duke that Saturday, Virginia looked slow. They looked like they were literally and physically going in slow motion. Duke was at half speed and was burning them down the court.
Kerry, look, I'm not trying to troll, and we were talking even before this started.
And I like the job
about
Odom has done.
Odom's done a great job.
And
they're actually exciting to watch on the offense, especially that foreign kid they brought in and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
But if their game plan was to knock the hell out of Boozer and put him on the free throw line, he's learned to shoot free throws. He was missing them at the beginning of the year. That's why they lost to Texas Tech. But he's making them. You can tell he's making them. And then you're going to leave Isaiah Evans open, making 3-pointers. And when he hits one, it's like an ocean he's throwing the ball in. But you're right, man. They look slow. Slow. Oh, my God. And I'm just like looking at it, and I'm like, I'm sorry I didn't put money on this game. I was looking to see,
and I was really interested to see how Virginia would match up with them. I wanted to see. I was really looking forward to it. And then after 8 minutes, I'm like, God, this is terrible. They were overmatched.
Do you listen to the Field of 68 with Goodman and those guys, Tyler Hansbrough? I do listen to them. They do a great job. They do. There's a couple of guys on there that they obviously hate Duke, and that's fine. You know, a lot of people do. But the problem is that don't be hugging a team's nuts for 4 days, because you know these kids listen to this. And Duke came out looking mad, man. Like, they looked like they were pissed off that they wanted to beat the hell out of this damn team. And I'm sure they heard all 4 days, watch out for Virginia. It's a noon game and blah, blah, blah. They were probably pissed they had to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning for breakfast. Yeah. And they were just like, let's just kick these guys' asses and let's go to the dorm and chill out, you know, or go to Bojangles or something, you know. And that's what they did. And you're right, though. I mean, but, like, I just feel like you don't need to, like, poke a bear that we already know is good and just piss them off even more, because there's certain teams. And I think the same thing with Michigan. All Michigan heard all week was the damn thing with Duke and everything like that. And here's Illinois fans waiting for 8 hours. And, you know, Michigan, I mean, was in control of that game, even with the unfortunate injury to Casey.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they just destroyed that game. There was no point during that game that I thought Illinois had a shot.
Not one point. Not one. We were even messaging each other. I was like, this is just, this is over. This is over already.
The job that Dusty May has done is incredible. And remember, he took Florida Atlantic to a Final Four.
Yes.
That's one of those guys you can't underestimate, because now he's got talent. He's got all that talent up there. I hate that they lost their backup point guard for the rest of the year. That's a tough loss. They'll figure. The good thing about an injury like that, and when it happened, they will have time to figure out how to change their rotation.
And and that's why Thursday's going to be big to watch. Tomorrow night against Michigan.
Tomorrow night's going to be big.
Yeah.
Yep, it's going to be big to watch to see how they do it. And Sunday with Michigan State, and then the Big Ten tournament. They have a chance to really see how they can do their rotation. I think they'll adjust and they'll be fine. I think tomorrow night will be a little tough because it's Iowa. Iowa's a tough ball club.
On the road too.
At Iowa.
Yes,
that's tough ball. They're a tough ball club at home.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the other thing too that you got to also throw out there too, Kerry, going back to Carolina, the injury to Wilson, he's going to be rusty. Obviously he's a big man. How's his shot going to be? If he dunks it, is it going to hurt his hand a little bit because he's kind of a powerful dunker? He likes that emotion. And the thing is that, if he can go, great. If he can't, this Duke team is way different from when they played them a month ago.
Yeah.
And they've discovered something, and it's in Cameron, and it's senior night, and it's going to be boozers one and done. I mean, I almost like to joke around that it's not senior night anymore. Some of these last nights, it's the freshman one and done night or whatever, especially for these clubs like Kentucky and Duke that have relied on so many one and dones over the years. But the truth of the matter is that I'm not saying that I think Hubert Davis has done a phenomenal job with what he's got. They won. They're a lot better than last year's team. I don't know what really was going on last year that the pieces didn't miss well, but this year he's found what he's needed to. And realistically, they probably were the second best team if Caleb Wilson doesn't get hurt, and maybe they get a 2 seed. But I'm going to be honest with you, even with that, they just don't have the guard play, in my opinion, that you need in March to make any noise, no matter what they do against Duke or in this ACC tournament next week. If they get matched up with a team with some really good guard play from the Big Ten or the SEC or Big 12, they're in trouble. They're done. They're not going to get out of that first weekend, especially if they're right now projected as a 5 seed themselves. So they better watch out for a matchup with a 4 that they may not want any part of. So but that's just my thoughts on that.
I agree.
Yeah. What about Nebraska? They got their shit pushed in tonight, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they came back to win or not, but when I was watching that, and they were number 9 this week, and we've kind of talked about them, and I'm not trying to troll them by any means, but I think that, to be fair, they've kind of come back to earth, so to speak. But would you say that they're a pretender or never will be? What would you think at this point?
I'm going to say they're a pretender because I think they've been figured out. I think their style has been figured out by a lot of other. They've lost some games to some teams that in reality they were better than, and they just got figured out. They've been out schemed and figured out.
I agree with that. And actually, it was last night, if I'm not mistaken, that they lost. I'm trying to look up the score right now. Yeah, UCLA put belts to asses on them by 20 points. In Los Angeles, by the way, 20 points. Nebraska lost to UCLA last night. So, but Houston right now is losing to Baylor. It's still early in the second half, and Purdue is in a dogfight with Northwestern with 2 minutes to go, 62-60. Music to my ears, by the way.
I think Purdue's been figured out too.
Oh yeah,
I think Purdue got figured out. Ohio State really exposed them. Their lack of guarding on the outside. That really helped. And Ohio State, Thornton had a hell of a game against. I remember watching that game that Sunday afternoon.
Yes.
Thornton looked incredible. And
I think that performance got them in the tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Ohio State got in the tournament because of that game. I think because of that, they needed a high-profile win, and they got one at home. Those are the ones you want to get at this time of year. But, Nebraska's a pretender. I think Houston is a contender. Houston's one of those teams that you don't know what style they're going to come with.
Yeah. What's Kingston Fleming's going to do? Honestly.
That kid's incredible.
He is incredible. He is. So,
and that tournament, I'm going to be very interested in watching that Big 12 tournament because I want to find out if Kansas has a pulse.
You know what? Perfect segue. Go for it. Which conference tournament are you looking most forward to next week? So perfect.
I'm looking forward to 2 of them. The Big 12 is my first one because I want to see if Kansas has a pulse.
Yeah.
Because when Kansas has been good, we've seen them be good. When they've been bad, we've seen them be absolutely horrible. There is
Mhm.
no middle ground. I want to know if they got a pulse.
Yeah.
Bill
Yeah.
Self got kicked out of the game the other day. I want to find out what pulse they have.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I
want
just don't understand why they're having so much trouble, Kerry, because they look so good sometimes, and then other times they look like
they
trash.
look
I mean,
trash.
I don't
Them
know.
and Kentucky have been confounding to me all year because Kentucky, when Kentucky has looked good, they've looked really good. When they've looked bad, Georgia's happened. A&M has happened.
Yeah.
Missouri has happened. They've looked
Yeah.
they've looked as just as horrible as Kansas has. Those are the two most confounding teams I've seen all year. I don't understand how we lost 2 games to them with 2 double-digit leads. I really don't understand
I
it
don't either. I don't
because
either.
they
It
have not
pisses me
really
off.
performed. They've not performed up to their normal standards, and I want to see what happens to them in the SEC tournament because that's the other tournament I'm really looking forward to. And I'm going to keep an eye on the Big 12. I'm going to keep an eye on the ACC, the Big 10, the
Mhm.
tournaments like the Atlantic 10 and and Arch Madness out in St. Louis. Watch for those tournaments because those teams out of those leagues have pulled off first round upsets in the NCAA tournament as over the last few years. So those are the little underlining bit I'm looking at is Arch Madness, the Missouri Valley Conference, and they seem to always pull off an upset at some point in the NCAA tournament. And then I look at the Atlantic 10 because they do the same thing too. It's going to be very interesting to see those tournaments to see how they pan out.
I agree.
But
No, and I'll tell you this: St. Louis tonight won against Loyola Chicago, 79-65. Brian's really been high on them about St. Louis, and that's another team that deserves to be in. They've had a great season. They're very well coached, and I think them and Miami of Ohio are maybe two of those teams that that used to be what the quote unquote Cinderella. You know, and they could have maybe
yeah,
had some star players on there that aren't getting big time NIL deals as the 7th or 8th option on a big time program now. You know, to give you an update, Purdue is up now 65-63 with a minute 33 to go. Baylor's now up 44-43 on Houston with 15 minutes in the second half. They're under the 16-minute TV timeout. But that being said, though, man, like, obviously I'm going to be at the ACC tournament next week. I'm so
yep.
excited about it. And the
Charlotte,
truth
right?
is, Charlotte it will be in Charlotte, and as a matter of fact, next year it's going to be in Greensboro, and then it goes back to Charlotte, and then it goes back to Greensboro in 29. So
Oh,
they had a deal with the ACC tournament being in the state of North Carolina, being split between Greensboro and Charlotte for the next 5 years. So obviously, with it being in Charlotte, and I saw how good Miami was doing, I was like, I'm going. I mean, I'm definitely
oh yeah.
going. And yeah, and so I'll be there for the semifinals, and I'm living on a prayer, and I got a championship ticket, and I want to see Boozer again in person in that Duke team. So I want to see a great team in person, and that's why I got those tickets. North Carolina will probably be there.
Now let
Virginia
me
will
ask
be.
you a question about those tickets.
Yeah.
Are they for one game only, or are they for two sessions?
Very interesting. Yeah, it's the session. So basically, the
Okay, cool. It's
championship
like
game
the
is only going
NCAA
to be
tournament.
one game. Yes. So, but
It's
no,
like the
my
NCAA
ticket
tournament.
is good enough. The game starts at 7, and then whenever that game ends, 30 minutes afterwards is when the second game starts, and then
Okay.
we go from there. Now, what's interesting about this? Now, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I found it very, very interesting that Jay Billis and Dan Schulman, for the second straight year, are not going to be doing the ACC tournament, which
Yep.
they've traditionally done, because that's always been the Saturday night game. They are instead doing the Big 12 tournament this year. They're not even doing the SEC tournament. They're doing the Big 12 tournament this year.
Yeah, usually the
So,
SEC
yeah.
tournament, that's Ravitch and Jimmy Dykes.
Yes, and so I believe that Ravage and Jimmy Dykes are now back on that doing the
Yep.
SEC. They've
And Dick
moved
Vitale,
Schulman.
I think Vitale is joining them for that too.
Yes, I believe so. And then I've heard that Fraschilla and the other guy that usually do that are going to be the ones probably doing the ACC tournament instead, which is kind of weird because they've not done many ACC games. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I'm surprised that Corey Alexander and that group didn't get the assignment. You know what I mean? type of a thing.
Let me ask you this question: the championship game for the ACC, what time is that game?
Okay, it's at 8:30 Saturday night. Yes,
Okay, I'm
so
surprised that they
basically,
didn't switch that in the Big 12 game. I'm
that's what
surprised they
I
didn't
thought
switch that
too.
game.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. So
Have them play at
basically,
6 and then the Big 12 play at 8:30.
exactly. Yeah. So what they're doing is at 1 o'clock will be the one SEC game. Then will be
Yep.
the 3:30 to 5:30 window, the second semifinal of the SEC, and then the 6 o'clock, like you said, Big 12, and then 30 minutes after that game, the ACC will go on, and then after the ACC, I believe it'll be one of those West Coast
Yeah.
conferences, having their thing. So there's that. Interesting development. Northwestern just made a 3, so they're up 66-65 with a minute to go on the Big Ten Network, by the way. So
Oh,
Northwestern
wow.
could upset Purdue, and Purdue's already gone from a potential 2 seed that they're now firmly on the 3 line, about to be down to the 4 line, man, to be honest with you. So
And that
that's what
opens
it's looking
opportunity
like.
for some of the 4 and 5 teams to move up a little
Yes.
bit.
Yes, yeah, like you said, I think everybody's figured out the Purdue conundrum, honestly. So, the other thing too, going back to that, obviously, I'm interested in the tournament that I will be at, but mark my words, the advantage I have on that Saturday of especially that ACC championship game is that I can watch the other games at a bar right there in the city. I'm going to be there with my cousin and doing things and so forth. It's be a fun time and
Yeah, they
everything
got some great
more than
bars around
anything.
that area you
Oh,
can
they do.
enjoy.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
perfect. It's perfect. And where we're staying at is not that far. I can either Uber or take the train down
Where you
there and
staying
so
at?
forth. Not even worry about it. I'm staying at the Drury Inn just outside of
Oh,
Charlotte.
that's a
It's
good
about
hotel.
11
Good
miles, so
hotel.
it's a good hotel.
That's a
Yeah.
good
So
hotel.
yeah. So they got an indoor hot tub and pool. It'll be fun.
Nice.
And so and central to everything. So
Oh, that's
but yeah,
beautiful.
but obviously I'm going to have an eye on that Big Ten tournament. I'm definitely going to be interested in the Big 12 and obviously the SEC because of Tennessee. But yeah, I'm also going to have an eye on that Big East tournament. Can Connecticut make it through there unscathed? Because they've been
Yep.
playing with fire as of late. And realistically, I wouldn't be shocked if Connecticut got upset. And if Florida, holds serve and wins the SEC, how could you not put them number 1, especially if
Yep.
Connecticut doesn't win the Big East? I will preference this. If Connecticut wins the Big East and Florida wins the SEC, you do have to take head-to-head into consideration. And I say just let them be 1, let them be 2. Play
Yep.
it out in the South. You're going to send Connecticut to the Philadelphia region. You're going to send Florida to the Tampa region. Those are basically
Exactly.
home games for those 2
Yep.
teams. They're
They
going
could
to
pack.
meet in
They
Houston.
could pack.
You know what
They
I
could pack
mean?
that
So
arena in Tampa.
yeah, and what I would do is I would send Houston if they don't take care of business, and falter. I think that you need to send Houston out west to play Arizona and let them be their 2 seed. I've
Ooh.
seen Michigan and Iowa State get matched up, and then probably put Michigan State with Duke in the East. To be honest with you,
Yep.
which would be another rematch of a matchup that happened. And I'll say this: I think that Duke is way better than when they last time they played
Oh, yeah.
Sparty. I mean, so let's just be real about that. But that being said, I just think that those those could be the matchups, especially with where you're going to be placed geographically. But I just say this: I think all the conferences, tournaments, but the big ones especially, and like you mentioned, I think that you could have an interesting dynamic with the AAC or the
Yep.
Atlantic 10 or even the Western Coast Conference with Gonzaga and
Exactly.
St. Mary's probably
Mhm.
going to be matched up for a 3rd time now. So,
Yep.
but that's going to be something right there. So, the other thing too I wanted to get to before we get to your big games and our stinkeroos was the Elimination Chamber on Saturday. And Carrie, I touched on it a little bit on Stallion Speaks on Sunday night. What an absolute clown show atrocity of a pay-per-view. Between
Yeah.
nipple slips, between ruined appearances, between wrong guys winning,
Yep.
spots that they don't need at this point in their career. What the hell are they doing? And then you have Triple H, who's been my boy, one of my favorite wrestlers. I'd defend him to anything. But you're going to do a pussy move like what you did, and you sat in the back and did that interview, and you didn't want to get heckled by the fans because you can't face the heat of your shitty booking.
Exactly.
Before I get your opinion on that, let's bring him on. He's actually going to join us. Yeah, he's going to join us, and I'm glad he can make it because I'd love to hear him. And I'll go on longer for him and him only. The one, the only, Two-Pair Tate is in the house, baby. What you doing?
What's up, Two-Pair?
Shalom.
We can't have March Madness without another March birthday in the damn house, man. That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
So, yeah.
Hey, man, 24th. I just got off a call with T.I. and Mike Will made it. It was pretty damn cool.
Good deal,
absolutely,
man.
So
pretty
awesome.
awesome.
I like to hear. So,
pretty awesome experience.
Absolutely.
So I see y'all talking WWE.
Larry Frank, happy birthday! He pulled away from the celebration.
What's
up?
There we go.
There he goes. He's going. So go ahead, Two-Pair. Woo! It's the only thing worth watching. So
there were nip slips.
Yeah, there were a couple of nip slips, man. It
was Raquel. It was Raquel Rodriguez of all people, and the black screen didn't even make an appearance. It was almost like they did it on purpose. Two-Pair. I mean, yeah. So
I'm a Raquel Rodriguez fan in many ways.
Me too. Me too. Mm-hmm. So,
anyways,
yeah. But what's your thoughts, bro? We've been talking basketball. I can go back to it. We were talking Vols. We were talking the contenders. We were talking about conference tournaments. Who's going to be that fourth number one, especially if Duke, Michigan, and Zone have got it locked up. Would you go Connecticut over Florida with the head-to-head? Because I respect it, but at the same time, I think if those two teams played, I think Florida would put a whipping on them. I don't know. So, but
I think we may see UConn and Florida in the Final Four.
Ooh, okay. So you don't think they put them in the same region?
I think they'll either. I think you'll either see those teams in the Elite Eight or a Final Four, just because Florida. I think Florida very well could go back to back.
Yeah,
they are good.
I think they're in a great position too.
It's just they don't have the backcourt. They don't have the backcourt that they had last year. That's the only reason why I'm kind of on the fence about it. But if they're
and to catch up, that's what Anthony said earlier in the show, because he felt that he didn't trust them because of their inconsistent 3-point shooting, like for either the SEC or the NCAA. Sorry to interrupt, but go ahead. So
no, that's great that he said that. But just looking at the way their backcourt is played, and it's not to the caliber of what they had last year. Like, the shots that Clayton was pulling was ridiculous.
Magic.
Magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, don't get me wrong. I think Boogie Flam has played well.
Mm-hmm.
It just was, that team was a little different. It's just this team has an incredible front court, and I think they're like Chinulu, Condon,
Thomas Hall. Yeah.
I just think this team is tougher. I just think they're just tougher.
And plus, they've been through the fire. Like,
exactly.
They know what it takes.
Yeah.
They know what it takes to win 6 games to win it.
Yep.
NCAA championship.
They don't have to be the prettiest 6 games. They just have to be 6 games to win.
I'm going to tell you this. I would argue this. Honestly, I say that with Florida, if this Brown kid, the super soft, is hitting threes the way he was the other night, you can forget it. Because with that front court and him knocking down the 3-pointer, and then the foreign kid that they brought in, whose name escapes me at the moment, he was knocking them down against Arkansas. Two-Pair, they had 7 guys in double figures in that game the other night.
Yeah, man, they ran Arkansas out of there.
They did, man.
It wasn't even close. I think it was like 102-74 or something like that.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't even close.
It was a beatdown.
Well, and I laughed about it because I said it on Stallion Speaks. I laughed about it because I said you had Michigan whip Illinois' ass, and then it was like, oh, Michigan's still the best team in the country. Then Duke whips Virginia's ass, and it was like, okay, Duke's the best team in the country. Then Arizona puts belts to asses to Kansas, like, hold my beer. And then Florida had the nightcap and said, wait a minute, guys, we're still the defending champs. And I was like, yo,
You know what?
I mean, whoa. So, yeah.
Kansas is free falling right before our eyes.
Oh yeah.
They're free falling right before our you like, you know, I'm a big Bobby Hurley fan. You know what I'm saying? Like I think Bobby, I think he hasn't got it the way he wanted it at Arizona State. They just not been able to. They not been able to get the talent there.
Exactly.
Like you got to win with some guys. Like he's not getting the guys. It just is what it is. Like, you know,
and their little brother in that state. I mean, Arizona's always been the creme de la creme of that state in basketball.
This is dating back to the Mario Bennett days, the Eddie House days.
Yeah.
When Lute was patrolling the sidelines. So
like, you know, there hasn't been like that Arizona State team to do what they did against for Arizona State to beat 2 top 25 teams back to back. That's a big feat for what Bobby Hurley's done this year.
I'm happy. I don't want to see him get fired because I think that it's unfair. And look what Tommy Lloyd's got over there at Arizona. That's a freaking beast over there.
He's got a whip in Arizona.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, come on.
But that's what I'm saying. Like Arizona State, I just think Kansas is free falling right before our eyes.
Yep.
Do you have Tuper, real quick, do you have a theory on that? I mean, I've heard things. Is it the Darren Peterson's father situation? Do the pieces not mesh? Because this is now 2 years in a row where they have all this talent and there's just something not going on. Bill Self getting tossed out of games. What's going on, brother?
I think they've had the longest hangover from winning the national title.
That's highly possible.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Because you look at how they won the title against the North Carolina team that they just gave the title away.
Yeah,
you're right.
You know, look at all their tournament performances since winning the national title.
Yep.
No shows. Early exits.
Exits.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. It's been and that's what Bill Self's second title.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first one was the one that Chalmers made the three-pointer. Because realistically, that should have been Memphis that won it that year had that not happened.
So you know, for what it's worth, Bill Self, you know, he's got 2 titles, and the Kansas team, they were clicking at one point. They were clicking, and then it's just like I think the Cincinnati game was the telltale sign.
Yeah, when Cincinnati went in there and blew them out.
But Cincinnati also beat BYU.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a tournament team. That's a dangerous tournament team. So,
that's another thing of how much of it was Kansas, or is the Big 12 is just that good of a league?
I just think they're really good.
Yeah,
like it's a good league, but I just think, you know, Kansas is kind of free falling. I don't know if I trust Kansas. I don't know if I trust Kansas to make the Sweet 16.
Hey, Two-Pair, I was telling James about them and Kentucky, to me, have been the 2 most confounding teams all year. I don't understand Kentucky because
I don't understand Kentucky either.
When they've looked good, they've looked really good.
They look great
against bad. And Arkansas, going down to Arkansas.
Yeah, they look good against Arkansas. Yeah.
But when
they should send Tennessee a fruit basket for how good they've looked against us twice. 2 blown 17-point leads. Inexplicable.
I mean, when Kentucky's looked bad.
I think the Alabama game is going to be a tough one for people too. That was a tough one because
29 seconds they led.
But I think Amen's injury takes a little bit of the sting off of that because he wasn't available to you.
I think Tennessee wins by 10 if Amen plays that whole second half. That's just me.
It comes down to execution in that time frame.
Yeah.
Like that just you got to be able to get a bucket somewhere.
Yeah. And that's stare.
I mean, if
They look
don't get me
around.
wrong,
Yeah.
Amen. He's been the closer. If not, besides Gillespie, he's probably the best player on the team, overall player. But it's like you gotta get something from Estrella, Akparo, Berg. Like you gotta give.
Carey has got to
Carey
make
has
damn
been a
buddies
no-show.
around the basket. He's been a complete no-show, impotent offensively. Honestly, I mean, terrible. So yeah, I mean,
but it's like that. That's what the committee looks at. They look at games like that. Like, and I feel if Tennessee's even going to make a march through March, if they could possibly get to either the semifinal or the championship game, I think they should get a 5 seed if they get to at least semifinal or championship.
I think right now 5 seed is definitely on the table. Is definitely on the table with a lot of the teams that are free.
But if they lose that first week in the SEC, they're going to get a 7.
A 7, yeah. I think they'll be at 6. I think they're not.
I think they drop them dramatically. I think they.
So if they lose Friday, which would be sorry, Friday would be the quarterfinal. If they get the double bye, they beat Vandy on Saturday. They get the double bye. So you're saying if they lose Friday to whoever they're matched up with, they go to the 7th seed. You think
they still will be an at-large team, but they're going to be low at large if they. But this is what they have to. They get to the semifinals, they're definitely going to be at the 5.
Okay.
If they get
to the finals, 4. What do you think? They get to the finals and lose. They get to a 4, or they stay at a 5.
Well, they would have.
They could get to the. I think they get.
Are they like the 22nd team in the country?
Yeah,
23rd. Miami's 22nd actually.
So they're 23rd, but they beat Vanderbilt on the road.
Yeah.
They lost to Alabama at home. So you split
they beat Alabama on the road. But they beat Alabama on the road.
Yeah, they split. They
beat Alabama on the road with Biaku or
Bediaku.
Yeah,
Bediaku. So you split with Alabama. If you sweep Vanderbilt, though, I feel like they have to sweep Vanderbilt because you got swept by Kentucky.
Yeah, that can't.
And Vandy's ranked. And Vandy's ranked, so that's another ranked opponent and another quadrant.
Like Tennessee's bad loss, Syracuse is a horrible loss right now.
And really, that's the only bad loss on the table.
Yeah, that's the only bad.
If you think about it, that's the only bad loss is Syracuse.
The Houston win is probably your best win, and that looks better and better as Houston keeps winning.
Houston win is the best win of the season.
Yeah. The Missouri loss, that sucked because you were up early.
That's not as bad of a loss because Missouri is actually beaten people.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they beat Vanderbilt. They beat who was it? Did they win the other night against Arkansas a couple weeks ago, or Arkansas won?
Arkansas beat them, but Missouri lost last night to Oklahoma.
That's right. So that was a bad loss for Missouri.
That was a bad loss for Missouri. Yeah, really, the only bad loss for Tennessee all year was the Syracuse loss.
Syracuse might be the worst loss.
That's it.
I don't even know
because if you don't have that loss.
No, I think I could name a loss worse than Tennessee's loss to Syracuse. Gonzaga losing to Pacific.
Portland.
That was a worse loss.
I told
that
you
was a worse loss.
You said that.
My theory with Gonzaga.
Yep. To me, that was a worse loss.
If Graham Ike is not, if Graham Ike is off game or he's not getting a double-double, because it can't just be Graham Ike.
Exactly. It can't be just him.
Because that's the only, he has been Gonzaga's saving grace this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Mark Few has rolled that horse. He's left all the chips there. Before we get into more college basketball, I want to give a big shout out to the West High basketball team.
Hold on one second. Talk about it. Hold on. Let me finish the banner. Hold on. Because I didn't know if you were going to make it on or not, but I didn't finish the banner. Go on and keep talking, though.
Man, tough regional loss. Kalu Fofana man, he just, that's one of the best tournaments I've seen a guy play. Like, one game he gives you 50 in the district against Powell. Then they lose the district championship to Central, who had a great year this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you play Oak Ridge in a home game, and it was a close game. It was a heartbreaker. It was just the problem with West was the second halves of games. They had trouble closing it out. Robert Schuler played well. But
do you think it was because they were so young, two pair, losing those 10 seniors from last year? Do you think that's why they just the second half or the second half collapses? I don't want to call them collapses, but maybe just falling short and running out of gas. Was that the reason you think, or what? So
this was
curious.
supposed to be, and it's crazy to say this, but the team became different once the dismissal of Sean Smith.
Mm.
And I hate to be that way, but it just was a different team. You know what I'm saying? They played a little different. Now, there were times where I looked and said, this is where you need a Sean Smith. This is a kind of a perfect situation, but it was like, you're in high school, and if you're wanting to play at that next level, you're going to be coached hard. And you know what I'm saying? Coach Eggleston is going to coach you hard. Like, it's not, you know what I'm saying? This is high school basketball now. Like, this is kind of like you're making the step up to grown men basketball.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And it just was, I think a lot of it has to do with youth, and they not been in any wars. Like, the sophomore class, I think the sophomore class, they needed this. Like the Liam Purnells, they kind of needed this
to take that next step, type of a thing, and so forth.
You know what I'm saying? Like, those guys needed it. I'm interested in seeing how Jackson and Braxton Rose play, because I think they could be a tremendous duo if they played at their height. Like, it's like a 6'5" and a 6'7" kid, and they're brothers. So hopefully the trees, they can do it. But Kalufo,
and then you got Kalu leading the whole thing. I mean, you got some pieces next year.
Kalu looked like Kimba Walker out there.
That's awesome.
And I think Paxton Tedford, he, as a freshman, he's going to get better. And then I think TJ Vallejo played very well. Like, the sophomore and junior class, it's going to be all right. Like, I thought TJ played with a lot of toughness. Dave Sanders, played well. But Kalu, it's his show. It is really, it's his show. Like, that dude.
What about this talented freshman group that's going to be, obviously going to be taking the next step? And then you got some 8th graders that are going to join the fold as well, that are going to be freshmen, and maybe they might have some guys that are going to get a little varsity time, like how Kalu did when he was a freshman. I mean, you got a good group coming in. So
you knew with Kalu, he was just ready to take that next step. Like, we saw glimpses of it as a freshman. Like, you saw it. Like, there were times when Jalen would come out and Kalu would run the show, then he didn't miss a beat. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I felt like having Kalu, like, I think Kalu as a sophomore, I think he benefited playing with those guys. Because there were some times where he could have got more PT or tick than some of those guys. Like, I thought there were some times when Reese went down, Kalu was the automatic decision to put in that lineup.
And I think what pissed us off is the fact that we barely even got to see one, if not two games with all three of them on the court, Jalen, Kalu, and Reese. And that was a scary lineup, especially when you had, Devin and Kevin down low.
Oh, my God.
What a monster of a group, at
and
that
that's
time.
what I'm saying.
So, yeah.
I think we were kind of we were kind of really blessed with that group last year.
They were fun. They were fun.
You know what I mean? Because think about
they revitalized West basketball. If you can honestly say that, they really did that group. So
if you think about as many games they won, but they never got that signature stamp though. They never got a region title. They never got a district title. And,
they did get the share. Remember, they did get the share of they just got the seeding. They shared with Bearden, but they got the 2 seed because of the overall record or something like that. So they did get a share of a regular season. They just never won a tournament. That was
never won a tournament. You know what I mean?
And they had so many bad things. It was just bad luck. I mean, you talk about injuries, snowmageddon, snowstorms that put 7 games in 11 days. I mean, it just sucked, man. Bad calls, refs making decisions that I was really shocked about. I don't know, man. 3-pointers going in for other teams that normally don't go in, and I don't know. It just sucked.
Yeah, it was a weird season, But the one thing I will say about this season is they became a better team, and it's kind of crazy to say it, but they became a better team once they didn't have distractions. They didn't I thought losing Sean was going to be a big difference.
But it seems like it was addition by subtraction. You
improved
the culture, and it's funny. While I have you on here, we normally don't talk women's basketball on here, but this thing with the Lady Vols has me miffed. Sure, the SEC women's
I'm glad you're talking about it.
has been probably the gauntlet that the SEC women's season has been is equivalent to what the men's was last year. And unfortunately, the Lady Vols had to be the sacrificial lamb. But, between losing a player at the beginning of the year and now you have somebody literally leave 2 days or 3 days after the senior festivities and it didn't go your way. I mean, I'm just, and people are already ready to throw in the towel on Caldwell. And I'm like, wait a minute, just give her a moment because, I think that you can make some evaluations. But I think that what makes you a better coach is you maybe brought in the wrong people. This can be for a man or a woman's team. Yeah. And maybe you need to really take a look at the thing and just say, let's let some of these people leave. I'm going to give you a perfect example. I'm looking at Duke, okay? They had Kyle Filipowski and another guy and blah, 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 blah. Those guys got them to an Elite 8, but that wasn't a good Duke team at all, okay? So what does Shire do? He tells these people, go kick rocks, go to the NBA, and he just brings in, obviously, 2 generational players in Boozer and Flack. But I'm looking at the other guys they brought in, and they, have assimilated. Everybody knows their role. They've gotten good transfers. I think Caldwell can get it shaped up in one next year. I'm not ready to throw in the towel. And who the hell are you going to get? It's a miracle you brought her in when you were going through the trees. But what are your guys' thoughts on it? I'm sorry. So, yeah. But.
Well, what I will say is the way she handled the situation wasn't the best.
Probably
because
not.
If you know that this player going through what Kaya went through, I think with the knee, she had to take a medical red shirt.
Yeah, she had to take a medical red shirt.
Yeah. She's been here 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
She's from Tennessee. So just putting on the jersey means more to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Facts.
And on senior day, you would expect the coach to either start the seniors, but don't put a senior in with 15 seconds left in the game.
Yeah, that just doesn't.
That was kind of shitty.
When they're losing.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah. You remember what Gino did many years ago with Nikisha Sales when she tore her ACL?
Yeah.
That he made that deal with the other team that they started Nikisha. There she was, God love her, with a torn ACL. And they let her go down there, score a layup just so she could get a point on senior day. And then literally Connecticut just stands there, lets the other team inbound it. They score. Then they take Nikisha out, give her flowers, and then bring in the backup. And then they basically played on two versus 2-2-2 at that point or
now
whatever
I
like
remember.
that. So
I do remember. I do remember that, and then I do remember.
I do too.
Nikisha Sells would always shoot the technical.
Yeah.
You remember Derek Anderson?
Derek Anderson for Kentucky.
When he tore his ACL, he always shot the technical.
The technical. Yep.
Like he tore his ACL in his senior season.
Yep. But Patino put him out there to shoot the technical fouls. I remember that.
Yeah, he was shooting the technical.
He was a 95% foul. He was a 95% foul shooter. I'm putting him out there to shoot the technical.
Yeah. Well, didn't Kyrie shoot the two foul shots that he got hurt on the torn ACL and then walked off? I felt so bad for him, but he still nailed them. That's what Kyrie Irving can do. So shoot, but damn. So well. I mean, but like I said, I agree with you of how she handled it was pretty shitty.
Yeah, she just didn't handle it right.
She just didn't handle it right.
I think she's still getting it. She's still trying to learn. That's what I think.
I look at even what in the high school ranks. Like we had 12 seniors last year. Was it 12? We had 12 seniors.
I mean, it was 10 because one got.
That's right.
I mean, one didn't decide to come back because he transferred, and then the other guy, unfortunately, left the program. But you had potentially 10 guys. You had 9.
We had 10 guys, and one of those 10 guys went to Carter and was all district, all region.
Coward.
I would have loved. I talk about that all the time. He was like a missing piece from.
He could have used my mailbox. I could have adopted him as a son, to be honest with you.
And you know what I loved about Chris is he always said, "Man, I wish I could have still played for you guys, but I had to move. We moved."
Well, do you remember when I joked around with him in the stands at the Jamboree? I said, "Kid, you could have just told me, and I would have just given you my mailbox." He goes, "For real?" And I was like, shh, that's what I said. But I mean, come on, you don't tell me that people at Bearden don't do that shit. Come on.
You know what, though? I'm not going to lie, man. These last 2 Bearden teams have really been like.
Marvel, too, man.
They've been very good.
Yeah.
These last 2 Bearden teams have been like, I'm talking about
talent in this area.
Like from 1 to 5, Capshaw, Ash Beatty, Nordine, like they are loaded.
Yeah, and not to mention they could have had another guy who's playing his senior year at Maryville that's also did football in Brody, so they had him for a time there as well, and that just shows the job that they have. They have a great coach. They do. Not that we have a great coach in Coach E and so forth, but that guy has brought the state championships to Bearden and has been a amazing hire that followed up the Mark Blevins thing that they had.
You know what? And it's wild because Blevins was there forever.
Yes, he was.
The Colonel was there for forever.
The Colonel was there forever. Damn good coach. Damn good coach.
And Perry just it's
Perry's
like
taking it to another level. Yeah. Oh, he's taken it to another level. And when they hired him, because you remember he used to coach. He coached the Greenville team that upset West and so forth. Unfortunately, and that one still stings that we lost that game at home and so forth. Because I thought that was a state title team.
And it's usually hard to replace a legend, but Parrott's done it really well. Over there at Bearden. He's done an outstanding job.
And even the Bearden woman's coach, Underwood. Because if you remember, Coward was there for a long, long time.
Coach Cowan.
Coach Cowan. That was his name, Coach Cowan. So no relation to Chris, but
no,
he was. because he went to CAK after he left Bearden.
Yep.
He was CAK's women's
Well,
coach
he had to
for a
retire
while,
from
so.
Knox County. So when you go to a private school, you're not retired. So
You're not retired anymore, so yeah. So, but he had some solid teams back
Yes,
in
he
the
did.
day with Jennifer Simpson and
Jennifer
Brett Brabson and all them back in
Yeah,
the day.
Brabson and all those girls.
They were
Yeah, he
some
had some
badass
solid
girls
teams.
at Bearden.
Man.
They just had to take on Oak Ridge. That was their
that was their
always in their
bugaboo, was
way.
Oak Ridge.
Yeah,
Oak Ridge was
Yeah, the girls team.
Jennifer Simpson was so good.
Hey, when I
had a class
when I
with
was
her.
over at Bearden, the wars we had with Maryville, Humphrey, and those guys in the men's, I saw some of the best games in the history.
Kyle Cruz against Lee
Humphrey.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Drew Hauser played on that Maryville team too. So
hey,
yeah,
there's a region game back in 2006. It was a region championship game with Maryville and Bearden. That didn't start till 11 o'clock that night. We were there till 2 in the morning because they went double overtime in a region championship game because all the games were backed up because we had a day out of school because of snow. Snow messed with that tournament. And they ended up playing till 2 in the morning on Saturday in a double overtime game. Bearden won. The score was 48-47. That's how it was, low scoring.
Wow.
Great defense. Humphrey missed a shot at the end that went in and fell out.
Wow.
That could have won the region champion. It's still one of the highlight games that I've done. It was unbelievable. That whole tournament was fantastic.
Man, those Maryville teams with Jordan Dameron and Kent Basil, those
Maryville always gave Bearden fits. No matter what kind of team Maryville had, they always gave Bearden fits.
Well, this Maryville team's pretty badass this year. So
golden era of basketball, man. I saw good West teams. I saw good Farragut teams.
Yep.
AE, Fulton. That's when back then we all played each other. Bearden played everybody, played the city schools. They played AE, they played Fulton, they played West, they played Central, they played Farragut.
And Farragut had some great teams too with Dodgen.
Dodgen was a tremendous coach.
He was. So yeah.
And
Bearden and Farragut were playing tonight. I don't know how it went, but they were playing for the 4th time for a region championship.
Was it the girls?
No, boys. Farragut has the last of the Von Ackers and that Farragut team.
Finally.
The last one.
Dominic Van Acker. He's one of my favorite. How many have they gone
through? My God.
He has been one of my favorite high school players these last 4 years.
Yeah.
He is such a athlete. Like he's probably
we saw it 2 years ago. That sophomore group, we said they're going to be a problem. Here they are. They're not in our region anymore because of everything changing. But there they are.
Yeah, they're
going to a sub-state. They're probably going to sub-state. I see them probably beating somebody and watch them make the state tournament. Honestly,
I love Dom's game though. His game. He's probably one of the better Farragut players to come out of there in a long time. He kind of reminds me a little bit he's just a more athletic Greg Gibson.
Oh yeah, I remember Greg. Greg was a hell of a player.
Greg Gibson was a hell of a player. I think one of the more underrated players of the area was Greg.
Man, I miss those days. Rivalry games like that. Bearden Farragut, Bearden West. I miss those days, man. Those were fun games.
I mean, we were enjoying them last. We were enjoying them last year too. I mean, and then you throw Maryville in the bunch. It was
no matter what the records were, the games were great.
Yeah. Two-Pair, I wanted to ask you, because you kind of came in on it on the back end, going kind of back to the college basketball. Which conference tournament are you looking forward to next week? I don't know if you saw or not, but I did punch my ticket. Happy birthday to me. I will be in Charlotte next week. And listen to this. If the matchups stay true, listen to this. On Friday the 13th, on my birthday, Carrie asked me how much I paid. For the session on Friday night and the championship game, I paid $250 for my seats that are upper deck, but it's facing the court and so forth. And I'm not in the corner. I'm not in the end zone. And the potential, if the seeds stay right now, I could have Duke, North Carolina 3 on Friday, followed by Miami versus Virginia, and could see Miami against Carolina in the championship, or Miami versus Duke, or Duke versus Virginia on Saturday. That is what I'm looking at right now.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
that's-
so I'll be in Charlotte, but I was telling Carrie, don't think I ain't gonna have my phone and being around those bars in that
Oh,
Charlotte
yeah.
area, watching how the other games are going for Tennessee and the SEC.
Heck, maybe you
and
need to
everything
stick
like
around
that.
and check out the Hornets down there playing some ball right now.
Dude, they are
John
Knipple and
might be the rookie. He's the only
LaMelo.
person that might upstage Cooper Fleck for NBA Rookie of the Year.
Low key, between you and I think he's got it sewn up, because realistically, why should the Mavs play Cooper the rest of the year and risk him getting hurt? I mean, there's nothing to play for. They traded away everybody. Kyrie's not coming back this year.
Yep.
And I just think that they might as well just get one more lottery pick and, ball next year. I mean, knowing Cooper, he don't give a shit about those awards. He wants championships, man, but honestly, if he's going to lose to somebody, he's going to lose to his old college roommate. And that's just crazy to think about, that they were on the same damn team and they're just tearing up the league. And next year, it's going to be interesting to see how the Rookie of the Year shapes up with all these talented freshmen as they move on, whether it's DeBonsa or Peterson or Wilson or Boozer, whoever emerges as an NBA guy next year. So.
I call it Michael Jordan giving up control. Look what happened to Michael Jordan since he gave up control of the Hornets. The Hornets have been better. He can enjoy he still owns the team, can still enjoy them as a fan. He's focused on NASCAR, man. He's
kicking ass in NASCAR. He's kicking ass in NASCAR.
He's the hottest owner in NASCAR, man.
Can I ask you guys something? Isn't it funny how Brad Daugherty like used to be the guy in Jay Billis's spot, and then he transitioned to NASCAR? These were guys on Tobacco Road in North Carolina, so I guess it makes sense that it was basketball and racing. That's what it is in North Carolina, man. I have to think about that because I'm not a North Carolina guy.
Brad was always with racing when he was in Cleveland, though.
When he was in Cleveland, too, yeah.
He was always in racing.
Let's see here. We got Matt Swanson. Who's going to be the biggest washout of the tournament?
The biggest washout?
The biggest washout. So give us a like, Matt. Thank you for joining. So, yeah.
I say Kansas.
Kansas? What
Nebraska.
do y'all think about St. John's?
You talk about another team that's inconsistent. They're too streaky for me. Too many expectations. And what's his name that used to play for Auburn is up there as well. And he's kind of been a disappointment. I forget his name. But they're streaky. I mean, they got belts to asses last week by Connecticut. Connecticut put a hurting on them that I've never seen on some
UConn by 20 at
Madison. Yeah, I mean, it made no sense. But I'll give you two teams. I'll give you two teams, Matt, that I would not put any money on: Purdue and Nebraska. I think that everybody's figured that out. Nebraska got their shit pushed in by UCLA last night by 20 points. So,
you know what? If for what it's worth, I think the team that's going to be the scariest is St. Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis is.
They won tonight. They beat Loyola 79-65. By the way, so yeah.
Watch the tournament, man.
I would be scared. The teams it's kind of you don't know how to prepare for. St. Louis and Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
Those two teams kind of would scare me. And you know what? I'm gonna put another team if they're hitting their shots. I wouldn't want to see Louisville because they can shoot themselves into a game
and they can
shoot themselves out of a game.
Yeah, a lot of that's going to depend on Mike Mikel's health, because
he's hurt. They're done.
Yeah. And but if he's able to play, watch them to maybe make some. And you see, that's what I'm concerned about Miami, because I didn't get the Thursday game because I thought Miami would do okay to maybe get through it. But I'm a little nervous because they got to play Louisville at home on Saturday. And the way it matches up, Louisville could be the 6th seed, and they play again on Thursday.
On
You know,
Thursday.
so Miami, it's not a shoo-in. Miami gets there, but I
Ja,
just went with the
Lucas, coach of
semifinals.
the year in the ACC.
Coach of the year has to
I
be
think
him.
Coach of the year
From
in the ACC.
last place to pair from last place to third place. And I said it on this show when it was announced a year ago. I said, listen, Duke is going to lose something with not having Jay Lucas, and he had to leave because of how the NIL window happened and the transfer portal and everything like that. He had to get down there and get to work. I said Miami is going to be a tournament team. Book it. And they are a tournament team. I think they're better than an 8 seed, and I'll tell you this, you don't want them as your 8 seed. Duke doesn't have to play them because of the whole ACC thing, but if I'm Michigan, especially losing Kaysen, Jay Lucas has a defense that's pesky. They don't have the height to match up Michigan, but they could frustrate Kadu and the guards now that Kaysen's not there to help with Michigan's backcourt depth.
We'll talk more
very
about
sad
this
to
next
see.
week, but that's another peeve about the NCAA tournament. There are some teams that get underseeded and some teams that get overseeded.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes when you look at some of the matchups, you're going to be able to tell off the bat who was underseeded and who was overseeded.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And,
but Two-Pair, what tournament are you looking for? Go ahead, Kerry. Before I'll let you finish your thought, but I wanted Two-Pair to tell me his conference.
Jai Lucas is getting a lot of love for National Coach of the Year too. Two-Pair, he's getting a lot of love for National Coach of the Year.
I like what he did there. The tournament that I'm looking forward to the most, I have been a fan of the Big 12 the most.
Mm-hmm.
I just because you don't know that the matchups you could get, and I hate that Toppin is out for Texas Tech.
That sucked. Yeah, they'd be a 2 seed easily. 2 seed easily with him.
But I like the way they've responded.
They've responded very well. I'm interested in BYU, but them being without Saunders.
Yeah, that hurt.
That was a huge loss. So
huge loss, because I felt like there were times where Saunders was the best player on their team.
Yeah.
Or the best.
You know what's crazy to me? That these are such major injuries that have happened that there's not even a chance, that they could even play. These are torn ACLs. This isn't like a hamstring or an ankle like he might play. I mean, these are major stuff.
Yeah, these
make these teams completely different, completely, that you don't appreciate how good they were. So, yeah, when they were rolling. But, yeah.
I think the most interesting tournament will be the Big 12. I think the ACC and the Big 10 are just right behind each other.
Yeah.
I really think just because the Big 12 has just been, you never know, with the way, you could get a Houston, Arizona for the championship.
Mm-hmm. You could. Matt says ACC and SEC are going to be the tournaments to watch to see if they get the seeding right. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, they could steal the show. We were talking Tooper before you jumped on. I found it very interesting that Jay Billis and Dan Schulman are actually going to be covering the Big 12 this year. I guess they're bringing back Jimmy Dykes and that group back to the SEC tournament, and I guess Corey Alexander and the other guy are going to be doing the ACC tournament. But Kerry brought up an interesting point.
Where's Fran and Shambi going to be at?
That's what I've heard. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know where
Fran
they're
and
going to be.
Shambi might be if they're not the best, it's got to be Billis and Schulman.
Yeah.
But I love Jimmy Dykes. I love Jimmy Dykes and Brad Nessler as a combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was one of the best.
The Dykes is going to be in Nashville for the SEC tournament.
Well, I think Bill Raftery is all CBS now. He didn't.
Yeah, he is. TNT. What tournament are they? Are they doing the Big Ten? I know CBS has the Big Ten Saturday and Sunday. But,
I think they're doing the Big Ten up to Saturday, and then the ACC. But they're also doing the AAC. TNT is too.
Who's doing the Big East? Are they doing the Big East as well?
Fox
is doing the Big East. Okay,
so Fox
FS1 are doing. Okay.
See, I always like the Big East on ESPN.
Oh God, yeah. Who could ever forget those days?
You know what I'm saying? It's in Madison Square Garden.
5 days in Madison Square
Garden. Iggy V or Mike Patrick.
And it was always Saturday night. At least Fox has kept up the tradition that the Big East is played on Saturday night because ESPN first brought that Saturday night. Big East championship, man. I mean, growing up in the 80s.
I'm talking about the way I used to think the Big East. I used to think the Big East and the ACC
were the tournaments, man.
were the tournament.
They were.
The Pac-10, Pac-12 tournament. It didn't get dramatic. It didn't get dramatic until like the Isaiah Thomas years at Washington.
Yeah,
and they'll be back.
It was never. It wasn't a lot of drama in the Pac-10.
It didn't get good until like the early 2000s when you had Arizona and you had UCLA. USC had some good teams. That's when that got good. But Stanford was very good. So used to be, and you see a lot of those teams are now
would be one of the better tournaments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would even argue that realistically, the Big 12 didn't get good until all these teams started coming over, like a Houston and all these other teams.
Because it was always Kansas.
It was Kansas Invitation.
It was Kansas. It was Iowa State. It was
Missouri had some good teams back then.
Missouri had some great teams in the Big 12.
Texas did too.
You know, Texas had a run, but Texas was always having to see Kansas.
Exactly.
And then the Oklahoma years with Blake Griffin.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Or I'd even argue Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State. Remember, they had a good run with
the Graham brothers, Tony Allen.
Yep. They had a good run there. And
was John Lucas on that team too?
I think so.
Or was it John Lucas the third?
John Lucas the third. Okay.
John Lucas the third.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah. But still, they made a Final Four. They were in that Final Four with Georgia Tech, Connecticut, and Duke in 2004.
Yeah.
So they were really good.
Yep.
They did. The Big Ten, the one thing that I liked about the Big Ten back in the day is, if you remember, the Sunday was, you had on CBS, you had the SEC and the Big Ten, one at 1 o'clock, one at 3 o'clock. To rival that, ESPN had the ACC game at 1 o'clock and the Big 12 game at 3 o'clock. And then you literally watched up until 5:45, and then 15 minutes, go take your piss break, grab your popcorn. Time to fill out your bracket. That's how it used to be on Sundays.
And the Big Ten is still the last game.
It's still the last game.
But
Saturday is now the. Let me ask you this:
because they moved everything to Saturday because the ratings were better. The ratings were better on Saturday.
So let me tell you something that the ACC did different this year, and it really wasn't the ACC's decision; it was ESPN. Traditionally, the number 1 seed gets to play at noon on Thursday with the double bye, but now there's a possibility, because they are must-see TV. Duke might have to play at 7 o'clock against whoever they're going to be matched up with, and
I actually think they would rather do that.
So, and then that way they would just have the 24-hour span before they tip off against Carolina, and then I guess Carolina, being in that second bracket, being the 9:45 game, they of course would have even less rest or whatever than having the 3 o'clock game traditionally, if they're the 4 seed or whatever like that, if they change it that way. But I was going to ask you two, Carrie brought up a good point. If Shulman and Billis are on the call for the Big 12, and that could be the sexier matchup for a championship compared to what you have in the ACC, why didn't they switch the games, like to where the ACC is the 6 o'clock game and not the 8:30 game, and the Big 12 being an hour behind is not that game, at 8:30.
I would have thought the Big 12 would be the 8:30 game.
Yeah. That's gonna be that sexy matchup, man.
But apparently it's going to be different. No, my ticket says 8:30. That's what it says. So shoot. Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's more ranked teams in the Big 12.
Oh, without a doubt. Very top heavy. Very top heavy. So, not to take away from the ACC, and again, but that's why I found it interesting that Duke's not going to be on at noon on Thursday. They're going to probably be at 7 o'clock taking on either Florida State or Cal, whoever wins
probably
that
get a bigger crowd. I'd probably get a bigger crowd for the 7 o'clock game than they would have at noon.
Oh yeah, if it's anything like the game was last year that I saw Duke and North Carolina play, and of course it lost a little something with Cooper Flag, but
Yep.
I'll tell you this, man, there was not an empty seat in that arena.
Oh
There was a
yeah.
little puddle of red, there was a little puddle of orange, but it was dominated with powder and royal blue in the stands there, and it was an electric matchup, and I'm ready for the sequel. So that's what I'm ready for. So
Think
yeah.
about Duke's road to the Final Four. ACC tournament, Charlotte. First two
Mhm.
rounds, Greenville, South Carolina. Final two rounds, Washington, D.C.
Yep.
Then a short little trip over to Indianapolis for the Final Four.
Yep. I mean, realistically, they have not. When they beat Notre Dame's ass last Monday or whenever it was, they literally do not have to leave the state of North Carolina until March 20 or March 19th. Just to
Yep.
let you guys know, they do not have to leave the
Yeah.
state of North Carolina until March 19th. So yeah.
And earlier this week, they sent out the NCAA sent out to the top seeded teams their preferred destinations, where they want to go, where they want to sit, because we all pretty much know Arizona's probably going to be the number one out west. They want San Diego, San Jose.
Yep. Easy. And then
Michigan's
Michigan,
probably
Buffalo, and
Buffalo,
Chicago.
Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. That's too easy.
I will say this, that South bracket is going to be very interesting because I'll ask you this too, Pear. Who would you roll with, Florida or Connecticut as that fourth one seed, depending if they both win Big East and SEC tournament? Who would you give that?
If they
that
both
fourth?
win, I'm going with Florida.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
UConn has showed stretches where they've had lapses and they've not been what we are accustomed to. Like they struggle with Seton Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's nothing to take away from Shaheen Holloway and that group, but they're not a team that scares me on the national level.
Yeah, they're not in the
Yeah.
class of Connecticut. They're not on the level
exactly.
of Connecticut.
So
No, they're not.
that's why
Yeah.
it's kind of funny to me that UConn is playing the way UConn is playing to their competition. Like they're playing below their competition almost.
It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking.
Like Florida, man, Florida is putting a hurting on a lot of teams.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They have I think they might be the hottest team going into the tournament, kind of like they were last year.
Yeah, I
It
think
was
so too.
Because the backcourt play is what took them over the hump last year.
Yep.
I'll say this much: jump on that money now if you're going to put it on them or whatever like
Yeah,
that.
get it
Because
early.
I put it on Duke only because of the Michigan game, and
Oh,
Duke
yeah.
has won 4 or 3 of their national titles in Indianapolis. There's something weird with that. I also have made a promise to myself.
They
if ever
beat
Connecticut,
Arizona and they
they beat Kansas and they
Kansas.
beat Wisconsin.
And
They
Wisconsin.
won, and Wisconsin
And
in
Wisconsin.
Indianapolis. If I'm going to say this, the next time Connecticut has a badass team and they're the number 1 seed out of the West and the tournament final is in the state of Texas, just don't even watch the tournament.
Yeah,
Put
they
your
win
money
it.
on Connecticut. They win it every damn time when they're a 1 seed in the West. And they go
And the
and
Final
the
Four is in
finals in
Texas.
Texas in one of the locations.
Or
Swear to God.
Florida.
Yeah,
Or
or
Florida.
Florida. Yes. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, that's the other thing too. I guess my question is this: if you were to match up the top 8 seeds right now, because we were talking about it, obviously Florida and Connecticut, would they put them both in the South and put Houston out west to play? No, they wouldn't. They couldn't play. No, they'd probably put Houston in the East to play Duke. So that would be a rematch potentially. They'd
So
probably send
they would
Michigan
put-
State out there, Arizona, and then Iowa State play Michigan in Chicago. If
Midwest.
that would,
Yep.
that would work. Yeah. Okay.
So Houston would be playing in the East.
Would
Yeah.
be playing in the East. I mean, because here's the thing: you're not going to put Florida as Duke's 2 seed because they would be the highest 2 seed, and you're not going to do that to the overall number 1. So what you'd have to do is then go that S curve that they do, and it could potentially be. And they don't like conference matchups, so it would either be Houston or Michigan State, but more than likely it'll probably be Houston, because Houston and Arizona are in the same conference. So if anything, they'll send Sparty out west to play Arizona if Michigan State can navigate the 2 seed through the West region, no matter where they're placed and so forth. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting how they do that. But here's the other thing, too. If let's just say, for shits and giggles, Houston gets a 2 seed, that is no advantage for either UConn or Florida, that they could potentially be the 1 seed and they have to play Houston in a potential home game for Houston in the Elite Eight. And Houston would be the 2 seed. Do you see what I'm saying right there? So that would be a little weird, in my opinion.
That would be.
I don't know.
Weird.
I don't know. They're gonna have to do it one way or the other. I mean, it would make more sense for Duke to play Connecticut geographically in the East. However, again, one of Florida and Connecticut's going to be the last 4 seed, and one of them is going to be the top 2 seed. And the rule states that you can't have the best 2 seed playing the overall number 1, provided Duke gets that overall number 1, like they're projected right now. So
I do love the way they do that, though. Like the number not playing the top number 2.
It can't be that way. You should really rank them like the lowest 2 should play the highest 1 theoretically, and then go from there. You know, like if it was 8 teams, 4 versus 5, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, just make sure that it's not the same conferences, so there's not a thing there. So yeah, but well, let me ask you this, guys, before we wrap it up. Carrie, I wanted to go to you real quick to talk about your big games. We got some solid games this weekend. Then we'll go to They Stink and close it out. But what are some of your big games this weekend to watch out for? Obviously, you got Carolina Duke. That speaks for itself. But what else are you looking for this weekend?
Got some big senior day games, like you said, with Carolina and Duke. We also got Vanderbilt and Tennessee. We got Arkansas and Missouri. Florida at Kentucky, and people are asking Florida, what is their motivation? Todd Golden says, the Florida team has never won 16 games in the SEC. We want to be the first Florida team to go 16-2 in the SEC. That's their motivation. And plus it's Kentucky. They hate Kentucky. So they're going up there to ruin their senior day. And those are just a few of the matchups. And on Sunday, you got Michigan and Michigan State. And a sleeper game on Fox, which I think is going to be interesting, is going to be Iowa and Nebraska. I want to see where Nebraska's head at, getting ready for the Big Ten tournament in Chicago. Those are my big games this week.
Nice. Well, let me ask you this, two pair. It's our favorite segment. They stink. Who in the hell stunk it up for you this past week? By the way, honestly, so that's what I want to know.
Man, who stunk it up? That is a great question. It can go a lot of ways. Like women's basketball, the Lady Vols have been stinking it up.
Mm-hmm.
Just awful.
If we're being honest, yeah. I mean, and that's what we do on this show. We're honest. So,
like they stink. Like the whole situation. The whole situation with. Was it Kaya? Make sure I'm saying her name right. Is it Kaya? Kaya?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Is it Kaya Ware?
Kaya Ware?
Where or when?
Win. I think it's Kaya Win.
Kaya Win, yeah. The whole situation with Kaya Win. It's just a very stinky outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that just stinks. You know what I mean? On a lot of levels. I would say the franchise tags right now. Those those stink because I think Kyler Murray is about to get released.
Yep.
Diggs just got released.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he ain't gonna be choking no bitches no more.
I thought about you guys today when I saw that. I said he could not escape that damn menu being wrong and hurting that was done. I mean, yeah. So
and of course, Cardi B talking about you at concerts when she's in concerts, talking about what a dog you are in front of her face. Yeah, that's not going to
God.
last forever.
Like, yeah,
Horrendous.
like the franchise tag, man, that really stinks. Because there's going to be a lot of guys. There's going to be a lot of guys who are not getting franchise tag and they're going to get released.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And I find it ironic that it happened right after the combine because these teams are salivating at these young guys, thinking, "Yep, I'm going to bring this guy in, and I don't need to pay this old guy anymore." It sucks. It's father time, man. Father time gets us all. Honestly, you got to make the money
And
when you
know
can.
what? This is another thing. People that just go to the combine and only interview.
Yeah, they didn't even work out. Like, I mean, they didn't even run a 40 or throw up 225 1,000 times or whatever.
I don't have
You're
a
right.
problem with Mendoza not. I don't have a problem. He's not the first
I
quarterback to
don't have
not
a
throw
problem with
because he's not the last.
Mendoza. But
No.
my thing is like there's certain guys who I don't think we saw enough film. Like, I think we seen enough film on Mendoza. Like,
Yeah.
Like I don't know what his measurements are gonna change.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is Diego Pavia gonna get 3 inches taller?
No. Heitner's might help, but I don't
And some of these
know.
guys,
So,
also got pro days coming up, and they think they're gonna that they'll throw more
I
about
do
the
know
pro days.
Keontae Scott for Miami, who was a solid player all year, had a little bit of a thing after the championship game, a little surgery to fix whatever was ailing him so he could work out at the pro day on the 24th down in Miami. So I know that was happening, but he had a legitimate thing that he sat out for or whatever. So, yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing, like, I would say stinks.
Yeah, Cowboys are looking at him, unfortunately.
Going to the
Keontae
combine and not even doing anything, it stinks.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. No, I think all of those equally stink. Carrie, who stinks for you this week, by the way?
Well, speaking of the NFL Combine, they do it right up there in Indianapolis. They treat the players, you get the fans, they make a whole bunch of money all weekend long. Coaches, interviews, TV coverage is unbelievable. Quarterbacks were throwing on Saturday, and I appreciate the fact that they let the families in to watch their kids out there play. I think that's fantastic, and they let the fans pay their money, and they get to go and watch. The one problem I had was when the quarterbacks were throwing, and I know they're in Indianapolis, they were cheering for a lot of the different quarterbacks. But when Carson Beck goes out there to have his little warm-up, they booed his ass. And I'm sitting there going, look here, Indiana, you already got the national title. You already beat him on the field. And now you're booing him at the combine. Really? Of all the things to do, you booed Carson Beck at the combine? Y'all stink. That is absolutely horrible.
I mean, they should be sending him flowers. He clinched the damn game for him. I mean, if it was the roles were reversed, I'd be sending a fruit basket to Mendoza, not booing his ass. I mean,
if this was in Miami, I don't think they would have been booing Mendoza in Miami. No, they get to Indianapolis and you're booing Carson Beck. Really?
Yeah.
You won the game. You got the title. You're going to have rings that's going to last you for the rest of your life. Why in the world would you want to boo the person you've already beat? What good does that do? That does you no good. That actually makes you look bad. Fans of Indiana Hoosiers, y'all stink of high heaven. Booing a quarterback at the combine. Really? Come on, man. That's awesome.
It really was. I was embarrassed for him, to be honest with you. And it's like, look, hate him all you want or whatever, but his game-clinching interception is what solved it. Because had he made the throw that beat you, I could understand it, but not the fact that you won the damn game, whatever. So, yeah. Okay, my stinkeroo is going to come out of left field, so just roll with me on this, okay?
Oh, I want to hear this.
First and foremost, this team had so much hype at the beginning of the year, got this coach, even had the ACC preseason player of the year, was expecting big things. And, they won some games and they've lost some games. But nothing was more embarrassing for them to beat a shorthanded North Carolina team that they never beat, and just so happened to take one of their former players, had a glitter belt, and, talked about belts to asses beating a shorthanded North Carolina team that didn't have either Vasir or Caleb Wilson. Since that win, they have collectively found a way to lose their next games and have gone from a potential double bye 4 seed to then playing Notre Dame on Saturday, and went to Notre Dame after Notre Dame just got the holy shit whipped out of them by Duke that Monday, and allowed Cole Serta, who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn against Duke, to score 32 points and lose in overtime to Notre Dame was the North Carolina State Wolfpack. Followed it up on Monday to play Duke in Raleigh. Their fans were all jacked. It's a little bit of House of Horrors for past Duke teams. And their players are actually talking shit to Cam Boozer and Isaiah Evans and all those Duke guys before the game, only for Duke to come and put belts to asses on them, even worse than what they experienced against Virginia and these other teams that they've lost. North Carolina State Wolfpack are now looking at a 7 seed, potentially 8 seed, if they don't win against Stanford on Saturday. NC State Wolfpack, you stink! And shut up! Because if Carolina had Wilson and Vasir, they would have put belts to asses to you, Van Lupin. Keep your foot out of the line next time. Good God, get out of here with that crap. They stink. And a low-key stink was Bruce Pearl's comments about Miami of Ohio that were so uncalled for. And the final they stink, the player for USC that lied about his birth certificate, that's not on the team anymore, that was on Auburn last year, that's really 31, falsified it, and he's got 4 kids. That's why he wears number 4. You stink. You're like the uncle that he should play for Bishop Sycamore if he was a football player. Goodness gracious. So
my gosh.
I mean, you stink. So unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So
that's just messed up, man.
Yeah, but great show as always, guys. Final thoughts before we wrap it up and let Playboy Pete lead us out on the vocals with that beautiful song.
Playboy Pete.
Playboy Pete.
That's great.
Man.
But final thoughts though.
Just can't wait for the tournament. Wait for this regular season to close out, and high school basketball come to an end for me. Pellissippi State is done with the regular season, but now let's get into the tournament time.
That's awesome. Kerry, final thoughts, brother.
They call it March Madness for a reason. Excited about the madness, excited about what's going to come next week with these conference tournaments. We're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk a lot about March Madness coming. Selection committee shows. Chance to see Charles Barkley and Dick Vitale call one of the first 4 games in Dayton.
Yes.
Next Tuesday, in 2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact, they'll be calling one of the games in Dayton together. That'll be so much fun. Looking forward to that. Tournament's going to get underway. Interested to see how the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10, and the ACC, how all of those bids are going to separate, how they separate them out. It's going to be a fun tournament.
Absolutely. Well, traditionally, this show coming up next week has always been kind of a birthday show for me, and then Two Pairs is a couple weeks later. It's going to be even bigger, us talking March Madness, so I hope everybody joins it. You can come and roast me if you want and so forth like that. I always love a good roast. Turning 42 next Friday, and like I said, it'll be a nice pregame before I'm on my way to Charlotte for the ACC tournament the following day. But as always, guys, I love you all, love each other. And, thank you for everyone that participated in the chat. Remember to smash that like button and share our cause, because remember, that cause don't stop when the clock hits 0. So for myself, Two Pair, Carrie, Let's throw that W's up like we always do. We end every show with that W because that cause don't stop when the clock hits 0. Playboy Pete, close us out. Rebels with a Cause. We out this
Playboy
week.
Pete, take us home.
Pete.
Straight out of Marble City. RWAC. Yeah. Them W's out. What? Came up running routes on a chalked up field. Hoops on a black top, chain nets, cheap meals. West on the Jersey, now west in the heart. We were just a little crude and the mission turned hard. Stallion talk strong, he gon' stand on truth. Two-pair tape got the cards for the lost eye youth. Coach Shane, old Mac with the game time plan. Big game, Kerry Reeves, show you how to be a stand-up man. Straight out of the west side. Throw them W's up, watch the whole world ride. RWAC, yeah, say it with your chest. It's not just a brand, it's a whole new line. We some rebels with a cause, all about that real talk. Clock hits 0, but the grind don't walk off. RWAC, yeah, carry it for all of us. It's not just a name, it's the way we stand tall. We don't just chill when the crowd get loud. We stay in the city when the lights die down. Show love to the kids on the crack cement. Dropping knowledge in the huddle like it's heaven sent. Talk grades, talk faith, talk how to treat moms. Talk pain, talk pressure, how to keep calm. From the bleachers to the barbershop, past that flame. Every jersey, every nickname, learn the same last name.